In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Yeah. This is Blood Politics. The only podcast where we don't talk about politics. We be about politics. And our mission statement is to empower, educate, and encourage everyone to speak out against fascism. Speak out against injustice and fight for freedom and equality for everyone. This is Blood Politics, and we ain't stopping till they put us in the grave. We ain't gonna be quiet, and we ain't gonna be scared, and we ain't gonna go along with the crowd.
What's up, gang?
This is Blood Politics.
What's happening? Right with you.
It ain't about Dem or Republican. It's about right and wrong. It's about us versus them. This is Blood Politics.
All right, what's happening, guys? What do you say we just jump right into it? How you doing? Another day, another dollar to be had. How we doing? It is 2 June 2026, and I appreciate you for joining me here today. Make sure you hit that like button. We got a lot to try to cram into the show today. I'm not sure if I'll be able to cram it all in. I think it's about 9 or 10 different topics that I want to get into here, all of them important. But what do you say we say hi to the crowd first? We say hi to the chat, bring you guys in for a little screen time, as I always do. What's going on, peeps? How are you guys? What's going on, Tiff? Appreciate you down there, as always, with the rest of the mods that are fantastic and keep this place running. What's going on, Nick Rich? How are you, brother? What's going on, Elaine? How are you? What's up, Dyslexic Fingers? What's going on, Frank? What's up, Gamer? What's up, Roxanne? Happy birthday to Rox, by the way. What's up, Yakov? Salute to you, my brother. Appreciate you. What's up, Thanos? What's up, Alvin? What's going on, guys? Filter in. What's up, Jay? How are you? What's up, Abby? Good to see you guys. Thank you to everybody on Facebook and YouTube, Twitch, Instagram. If anybody has watched on Substack since I've been doing that, honestly, I couldn't tell you if one person has ever watched. I just really don't know. But I do appreciate it. The analytics aren't what I'm really too, engaged in right now. It's the importance of the issues and, trying to make a difference that I'm really focused upon right now. But what's going on, guys? I appreciate you. Filter in, hit that like button. Welcome one and all. Welcome one and all. Happy, what's today? Tuesday? Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Oh, thank you, Yakov. Starting it off in the right way today. Going camping. Gone from Thursday to Sunday. I'll be MIA. Well, you enjoy, my brother. You enjoy. Boy, do I wish I had the opportunity for some time off and a vacation, and I am very, very happy and pleased to see that you'll be taking some time off to, to spend with the family, I'm assuming. Little Ari going to be out there in an ATV, ripping it up down there in some camping sites. Send some pictures, send some videos if you can. Let us know that you're having some fun, a good time. But again, you deserve it. I appreciate all your hard efforts and work that you put in here. That goes for all of the mods as well, and everybody that watches the show and deals with the bullshit and comes to sift through these issues every single day. But like I always say, I appreciate you and you guys and your perseverance and your aggression and tuning into the show, and obviously your generosity as well. But just a couple things we'll be talking about today before I waste too much time. Once again, thank you to the chat. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 25,000 subscribers by the time midterm elections comes around. So like I said, just a couple of the things. Obviously, we'll be bringing up the horrendous night that Ukraine saw, at least 22 dead, and I'm sure that number is likely to go up from overnight Russian attacks. We got a statement from Zelensky, couple of videos from from Kyiv and from other regions inside Ukraine as well to take a look at. We'll be discussing how Tehran, I hate to be right. I really do hate to be right on these really, really dangerous issues. But what did I say the last show that we had? The fact that Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel were escalating their attacks basically everywhere. Whether it's Gaza, whether that's the West Bank, whether that's Lebanon. We've seen, Beirut take heavy hits. We got footage from that is ongoing and persistent as well. And that was going to be the red line, the consistent red line that the Iranians had said, if they don't stop that shit, we're not going to talk to the United States. We're not going to engage in peace talks, and we're going to keep the fucking strait closed. Okay. Another way in which I've been right, and we'll detail this a little bit later in the show, is, and again, this is not me, this is not me happy that I've been right, but this is me warning people for the last, 3 months and change about that the Strait of Hormuz isn't the only geographical point of contention that the Iranians and their proxies, the Houthis, could take control of. Well, now they're starting to threaten more and more the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, probably more so now than I've ever seen from them. And again, the economic impacts, the economic ramifications from that is nothing compared to, it's again, it pales in comparison to what we've seen so far with the Strait of Hormuz. Add in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait being closed, and again, those economic hardships just go up exponentially. So we'll be talking about that as well. And then there's this Axios report. Again, we've done some pretty heavy hitting against Axios, specifically Barack Ravid and his willingness to again crawl out of Donald Trump's anus every now and again to talk about some peace deal that's right around the corner, or the bullshit that he's responsible for. Well, apparently now they're trying to release some sort of story where Donald Trump really gave Benjamin Netanyahu the who, what, where, and whys. Right? He supposedly was swearing at him and yelling at him and angry at him. I'm not buying it. Okay, I'm not fucking buying it. They want you to think that, Donald Trump's actually trying to stand up to him in some way, shape, and form when, again, he's directly responsible for these actions and what's been taking place here. So hard for me to believe, but we'll take a look at least the report and some of, the quotes that are coming out from that as well. We also have, this is beautiful. I know it's a little off topic, but again, some of the things that they talk about are very relevant to today. But Dave Rubin, XTYT host, gay conservative, to the point where even his audience disowned him to a point where he had adopted a child with his partner. So again, he just is living on the wrong side of history, but also got his ass reamed out on Jubilee, that show where they do the one conservative against 25 liberals or progressives, and then vice versa the other way. I'm a little worried about copyright. They're typically very, very strict with who can show their content and stuff. So I have a Majority Report clip where Emma and Sam, I couldn't think of his name for a second there. Emma and Sam kind of go over a few clips, and we'll just kind of scroll through that. That way, if anybody gets in trouble, it's a Majority Report. All right. So we got that, and then we got a Megyn Kelly clip with Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan, we've talked about on the show a few times. Ex-CIA, ex-Navy SEAL, I believe. Somebody who has been one of the more outspoken critics of Donald Trump, this administration, the corruption, the Epstein files. Again, that's not giving him any flowers or too many flowers, but he has kind of been on the tops of the list at least the rhetoric he's been coming out with. And him and Megyn Kelly had a discussion about Trump's corruption that I think there's some insight that we could have being made in that one as well. We won't dive into too much of it, but I definitely want to give my take on the fact that Cenk and Hassan got banned from the UK because of their criticisms of Israel. Right. And again, regardless of what your opinion is or, your view is on either Hassan or Cenk is irrelevant. Again, whether that is Cenk and from TYT or Hassan from his own stream or you guys in the chat, I would have the same reaction. Okay, we spoke about this last night in the Zoom, and thank you so much to the Patreon members that showed up for the Zoom last night. Very much appreciate you guys' support and all of the conversations that we have. But this is one of the topics, and everybody seemed to understand that. Again, even if you hate these people, even if you despise these people, you can't stand them, you disagree with everything they say, it's not right what's going on, and it needs to be fucking called out. So that's what we're going to do here. Obviously, we got the California Elections Day. Big day for California. So anybody from California in the chat, good luck. God bless with everything that's going on there. Obviously, the mayoral race in LA and the governor's race for California. The two big news stories there. And then there's this Democracy Docket article that I was sent this morning detailing a little bit of the Postal Service, the USPS, and their new mail-in voting changes that Trump wants to see installed. So we'll be taking a look at that as well. And I don't think you're going to like what you're hearing as far as that's concerned either. We've talked about the Republicans trying to do everything they can behind the scenes, whether legally, illegally, unconstitutionally, to try to mitigate the damages that they know they're going to see or should see in the midterm elections, whether that's just trying to, lose by the least amount as possible, or if they're trying to just steal it outright, which is what, a lot of these laws and policies, and remember that leaked memo that we talked about on this show? That's what it looked like to me. They've been threatening ICE and DHS against different states, trying to force them to hand over voting rolls, add in with what we'll be discussing today. And it's a pretty clear-cut piece of evidence to suggest that they're just trying to steal this outright by any means necessary, illegal or, legal. And again, not many of them are legal ways to do it. So, all right, thank you to the chat. Very much appreciate you guys. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like button. What's up, V Sawyer? How are you? How are you guys? What's up, Lee, over there on Facebook? I see you over there. You can't hide from me. What's going on, Will? What's up, Alyosha over there on Twitch? Thank you, brother. Yeah, thank you, Dame. Appreciate you guys and everybody else that showed up for the Zoom. I always like, getting to chat with you guys a little bit more, I don't know, personably, I guess, a little bit more intimately, and get to discuss these things. And obviously, to be able to speak to a face and not just a screen, that's me and some people floating by in the chat is, it's good. It's good to talk to people, and it's good to talk to people, not just yourself. All right, let's dive into this. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for all your support. There's a Venmo up in the corner. If you can find, 3-4 quarters in those couch cushions that you're sitting on right now, and you can, forget about them and it doesn't take away from any other aspect of your life, think about sending it into the Venmo. Again, all we ask for is a buck or two. A buck or two from everybody in the chat would go to change this channel, would go to help this channel substantially. It's honestly ridiculous how much of a boost that could be. And again, to take away from the people that have been here for so long, supporting and being so generous with this show. That's why we try to grow this community so we can get our opinions out there, so we can get the facts out there, and obviously keep this ball rolling. So thank you very much again, everybody. Venmo in the corner. You can sign up for a YouTube membership, which is less than a gallon of gas for an entire month here. Goes a long way to help the channel. And again, obviously the Patreon at patreon.com/BostonBrian. 3 great tiers on there if it fits your financial capabilities. If not, the free stuff, guys. The free stuff is just as important. Liking, sharing, subscribing to the channel. Again, putting it out on your social medias, talking about it in just in different random conversations of people that also watch YouTube or Twitch or Instagram or Facebook, whatever it may be. Say, hey, you might check this one out. Even if you don't like this point of view, even if you don't agree with it, maybe you could check it out and you get some information, you get some kind of benefit from it. You never know. You never know. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you guys. Thank you to the chat. What do you say we jump into a few of these topics today? We're going to start it off a little bit differently than I normally do. I typically leave the Ukraine updates and stuff for the end of the show. We'll kind of be doing it at the beginning and the end of the show, I guess. But I did want to start off with this as we typically do. And as I said on social media, on my post this morning, every day I wake up, I am really absolutely blown away at the support and generosity of this community and communities just like it. You know what I mean? I don't want to, make it seem like we have the only one. I am very appreciative and, loving of this community. And just to see what you guys are capable of every single day, it really, really impresses me. We're just a couple days into this fundraiser and we're already over. I think that's $4,200 and something dollars, right? So just a few days into this fundraising now for Ukraine, for the 3rd Operational Battalion and Artillery Platoon, trying to get them a NAFO 3.0 truck. We are already at 3,000. Let me do a refresh just in case, because you never know. Might take a second here because I got so many tabs pulled up, but just in case. Nope. So we got 3,628 euro out of our 20,500 euro goal. I think that's roughly 24,000 or something like that in total for the for the dollar amount. But to have raised over $4,000 in this period of time is it just blows me away. It really does. I know we're a very small channel here. But we fight and we punch way above our weight class, I think. So again, a big salute to you guys. I can't thank you enough and say how much I appreciate you guys for getting us to this point already in this campaign. It really is fantastic to see. And again, pairing this with the night that Ukraine had last night, which obviously we'll be going over in just a second. You guys can obviously see the necessity to continue these fundraisers, to continue for people on social media, which has again taken up a big portion, I would say, of the lack of assistance that Ukraine has been getting from our government. I know it's not in any way, shape, or form, taking place in its entirety, but to chip away at anything, these different channels, whether it be Preston Stewart, Artur Rehi, Anna from Ukraine, Kate from Kharkiv, I know I'm missing a ton of them out there, but they've done so much and they continue to do so much for the people of Ukraine, for the Ukrainian military. And again, I am just honored and privileged to be a part of that. Fuck. Sorry. Man, I think it's time for a break. Oh boy, I'm losing it. I'm losing it, guys. All right, see if we can continue this. Sorry. All right. Well, that was a two-potter right there. That was a two-pot breakdown. That was a breakdown because of your generosity, and obviously a breakdown because of the plight of the Ukrainian people and what they're going through right now. Fuck me. I'll get it together. I'll get it. I promise. Give me a second. Let me get a towel. I'm here. I'm back. I'm here. I'm working. I'm living. We're here. All right. Yeah, so like I said, it's because of the generosity that you guys show, and obviously the work that still needs to be done. So my apologies for the emotion, but every now and again it creeps up on you. So, all right. I'm gonna get it back. I promise. I'll get it back. I'll get it back. All right. What do you say we jump into these stories here that are not going to be any easier to cover, if I do say so myself? But obviously, I'm sure you guys have heard about the attacks overnight on Ukraine, which again were kind of reported and detailed from Russia. They had been talking about doing this, much like the attacks that we saw. What was it? I'm losing track of days at this point, but not that long ago, also on Kyiv. But there was a few different clips here. There was a CNN clip here, short, just kind of detailing what was taking place. There's one here from Al Jazeera, I believe, and then there was a statement here from Volodymyr Zelensky, which I want to dive into as well. And then there's just like I have a couple clips of people on the streets of Ukraine just kind of showing some of the damage and devastation. So let me just throw this on your screen. This is just real quick from CNN, just kind of a quick recap of what was taking place, just kind of generally giving you the insights in the news. Here we see if we can play this real quick while I catch my breath and regain composure here. My apologies. So it says Russian attacks have left multiple dead in Ukraine. Like I said, the reports just before I got on, and again, take this with a grain of salt because it could change rapidly, was at least 22 dead in multiple regions of Ukraine. I know Ukraine, Kyiv was hit pretty hard as well, but. So, and again, this was the initial reporting, so you can see how quickly the numbers change here. This is detailing 9 people have died in an overnight assault, and again, obviously the number has climbed since then. It says combined missile and drone targeted the capital, authority said, obviously with Dnipro, as they just showed. But that's just, a couple of the videos coming in from that. Let me stop this real quick. Let me throw this one on the screen because this was no, this is Reuters. My apologies, because this was the one that I pulled up just before we got on here. This is at least 22 killed in heavy Russian attack on Ukrainian cities there. It says Russia powdered Ukraine with hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles early on Tuesday in a heavy attack. The authorities said killed 22 people and wounded more than 100. The strikes on the cities, including Kyiv and Dnipro, followed Russian warnings of systematic attacks on the capital after drone attack on a dormitory in Ukraine's Russian-held region of Luhansk, which we've detailed and gone over in detail. We've gone over that time and time again as to the propaganda usage from the Russians, the red flags, and the inconsistencies from all that as well. But this was the third heavy assault on Kyiv in under a month. But Russia has been relentlessly attacking Ukrainian cities, including Kyiv, since it invaded the small neighbor in 2022. Brokered talks on the war in Ukraine have stalled, with Washington focusing on Iran, while Russian advances on battlefield have slowed this year, and Kyiv has stepped up strikes on Russian oil refineries, which, again, we've gone into great detail talking about. This says that President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia fired 73 missiles and more than 600 drones in the overnight attack and urged Washington to send additional Patriot missile interceptors to replenish Kyiv's dwindling supplies. Quote, this was a large-scale attack and an absolutely clear statement from Russia. If Ukraine is not protected from ballistic and other missile strikes, these attacks will continue, Zelensky said on Instagram. And I do have his statement, or the post that he put out there. I'll throw that on right now. We'll read it real quick together. Zelensky said on Instagram, at least, he said more than 500 employees of the DSNS are involved in eliminating the consequences of the night Russian attack on our cities and communities. The main hit was on Kyiv, where dozens of residential buildings and other purely civilian infrastructure were damaged again. Unfortunately, 4 dead are now known. My condolences to all family and friends. There are now 38 people in the capital's hospitals. Everyone is provided with the necessary help. The search and rescue operation is underway in Dnipro, and the place of a 4-story apartment building. Part of that house was actually just demolished. 9 people were killed in this attack, including a child. 35 victims in the city. The fate of the 6 people is unknown. Their search will last as long as necessary. There were Russians and on energy in Kharkiv region and critical infrastructure in Kharkiv, Kyiv, Mykolaiv, Zaporizhia, Poltava, Sumy, Chernihiv, and Helmnitsa Oblast were also under hits. In total, overnight, Russia released 656 strike drones and 73 missiles of different types, ballistic, winged, anti-ship, a large-scale attack, and an absolutely transparent statement from Russia. Unless Ukraine is protected from ballistic and other missile strikes, these strikes will continue. Europe needs its own anti-ballistic so this war can finally end. And of course, the United States assistance is needed in supplying missiles to the Patriots. To the Patriots. Count on the support of our partners and on the heavy answers to the counter strikes, to today's strike. Excuse me. And thank you to all the Ukrainians for not ignoring the signals for the air alarm. And again, he posted that along with this clip. So I just figured I'd play the video detailing some of the damage from the overnight attacks there from Russia here. I don't know if it's me and I'm just like, I don't know, get something mentally wrong with me, but it's crazy to be watching this and to feel such a strong pull of like people should be there. People should be there reporting on this. People need to be covering this every single day, more so than it is being covered right now. Not just the missile strikes, not just the not just the drone strikes, not just the Russian attacks on the civilian infrastructure, but all of it. So to see this and to be like, I need to get back there to help in any way possible, deliver vehicles, deliver aid, fucking ammunition. I don't even care. I know that's not legal, but fuck it. You know what I mean? Fire trucks, ambulances, anything. So it's like, I don't know, it's counterintuitive to be like, okay, looking at this and looking what's going on and what they're going through and to be like, I need to get back there. But that's the thought that I have. I'm fucking shaking. So again, a video posted by President Volodymyr Zelensky detailing some of the the destruction and devastation faced in Kyiv and Dnipro. But let me see here. There was also this that I saw on Instagram from Johnny. Johnny, I've watched a lot of his YouTube videos. He does a lot of travel blogs. He's obviously living inside of Ukraine. He does a lot of videos inside of Ukraine. Before the war started, it was like these, YouTube going around showing the market, showing the greatness of it. And obviously his content has had to flip. Much like a lot of people's has had to during this this occupation and then this full-scale war. But he's detailing some of the damages that he's seen, and I think he lives not far away from this. I think he's detailing a Chinese car manufacturer, EV manufacturer, that got hit in these strikes. So he's just kind of showing the devastation there and the ridiculousness of the target that they struck. Like, not only is it one of their allies, but what military justification do you have to hit a Chinese EV, factory or a car plant or whatever they call it, dealership?
Guys, this is not the scene of a car crash. This is the scene of Russia blowing up this car dealership.
So I don't know if that's copyright, but you're just showing I think it's Zeekr. Not sure how that's pronounced, but this is one of their cars that they manufacture. You can see the dealership in the background, just destroyed. Basically, the skeleton of the building is left there. You can see the Chinese writing symbols on the back of the car there. So I think that's Zeekr or something like that. But, just kind of showing you and detailing some of the, the places in which that was struck and how they just doesn't really make much sense. A lot like we've seen from the Russian attacks, like this. They don't really have any reason, justification for the targets that they're hitting. It's just, throw as many missiles and drones into the area, affect and kill as many people as you could possibly do, and hopefully cause some mass panic within the citizens, and then force the citizens to put pressure upon the government. Again, that's the way that Russia thinks it's going to go. But obviously, that's just not what's taking place. We know historically that's not what's going to take place. If anything, it kind of it solidifies the resolve of the people. We've seen support after support after support for Zelensky this long in this fight. So again, it hasn't had the impact that Russia wants to see it have. But again, for everybody that I know and is either in and around Kyiv or in Ukraine, either delivering aid as part of the convoys that I was a part of, just people that I met in general along the way. Hopefully they're safe and sound. People like Philip Ittner, friend of the show, friend of Hal Sparks' show as well, if you've seen him on there too. Hopefully that everybody's okay. Hopefully everybody was up to speed on the warnings. Like I said, this was something that Russia kind of detailed. They kind of let it be known that it was going to happen in their systematic strikes. So hopefully, like I said, the advanced warning systems were working in Kyiv and Dnipro to a certain extent, where they were allowing the citizens to get into places of cover, their bunkers, their basements, whatever it may be, to get out of the way of these Russian missile and drone attacks. But if anybody can get the message to him, hopefully Phil's okay. And again, like I said, all my brothers and sisters that I met in my travels in Ukraine, hopefully they're okay as well. So I appreciate you guys. Sorry to kind of start the show off like that, but with the amount of devastation, with the amount of people that were killed, I would be kind of sorely and remiss if I didn't touch on that right away. So I do very much appreciate you guys and your support, not only for this channel, but for the people of Ukraine, the fundraisers that we're a part of, whether that be with Tom and the Misto Dobra, whether that be, again, going personally to deliver vehicles and aid because of the support that you've shown this show and because of the community that we've built here and the slight bit of recognition that we get, covering things like this. All of these things are possible because of you guys. So really do appreciate it. Really do thank you guys for all of your support. And obviously would like to see this war ended as soon as possible, which is why I continue to bring up why it's incredible to see the YouTubers, social media people, whatever you want to call them, stepping up where, again, countries and nations are not stepping up. So salute to everybody doing that hard work behind the scenes. I think Preston was actually just in, I don't know if he's still in there, but I think he was in Crimea. I think he was in where was he? I forget. He was at like a Black Sea security conference. I think he was in Odessa. Excuse me. I think he was in Odessa. To pinpoint it more specifically. So again, people out there doing work, shaking hands, meeting people, showing support, letting people know we're there for them. And it is very, very important that we continue to do that. And again, I would feel so blessed if I could get to a point in my political career here, or whatever you want to call doing this, to be able to, pick up and go to places like this to help out and to report on this and to keep it in the headlines, whether that's, out of country or, New Jersey or Minnesota or Vermont or anywhere that we have these things going on in this country. I would just be honored and privileged to get to a point where financially it would be viable to do these things and go bring you guys the on the ground covering and firsthand reporting of what's taking place. So again, thank you guys for getting us to this point, and hopefully we keep this ball rolling. But let's dive into this real quick before we get into some of the ongoing shit show, the shitstorm surrounding to Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. Let's dive into this real quick, because I think this is very, very important to be aware of. We've talked about this at length on the attacks on the Constitution as far as voting, whether that's throwing out the will of the people in Virginia, whether that is just illegal and ridiculously gerrymandered maps to make sure that they get the best possible outcome in their favor, whatever it may be. We've talked about that leaked memo from the Trump administration, pretty much detailing a lot of what we're going to talk about in this article right here. This is from Democracy Docket. And this is saying Postal Service moving forward with Trump's attacks on mail-in voting, right? So again, people that do mail-in voting, which Trump does himself, that's how he votes. But anybody that utilizes mail-in voting is I would implore you to be up to speed on all of these changes, whether that be the envelope that you use so that they can't throw your fucking ballot away because you put it in a, you know, an envelope that they don't deem is acceptable or whatever the fuck. But let's go on and just read a couple paragraphs of this, because this said the USPS said in a yet to be published proposed rule Friday that it's drawing up plans to radically crack down on mail-in voting by sending ballots only to voters who are registered with the federal government. The proposed rule will be formally published next week in an alarming step towards implementing President Donald Trump's sweeping attack on mail voting ahead of the 2026 midterm election. And it would represent a massive expansion on federal control over voting without congressional authorization. Again, time and time again, we've seen these people act on their own interest, for their own interest, against the rules, the laws, the policies, the regulations that we have in place, and going against the fact that we need congressional authorization for these things. And here's just another piece of evidence to suggest that they're going to continue doing that. It says here that Trump signed a sweeping executive order in March that in part told the Postal Service to send only mail-in ballots to voters on lists created and controlled by the federal government. The order is currently subject to multiple lawsuits. USPS's proposed rule came a day after a federal judge overseeing one of the lawsuits declined to block the order. The judge concluded that the plaintiffs lacked standing to challenge the order since federal agencies had not yet taken steps to implement it. Right? So it didn't throw it out because they were wrong. It didn't throw it out because it was legal and it can go ahead. It just threw it out because they hadn't tried to implement it yet, right? So it says that now that appears to have changed. USPS is moving forward with the order, even though legal experts and voting rights organizations have warned that it is blatantly unconstitutional, a blatantly unconstitutional attempt to restrict the right of the vote and usurp states' authority over elections. Under the Constitution, states run elections and only Congress can set national standards. The proposed rule would require state election officials to send USPS a list of voters who have requested a mail-in or absentee ballot at least 30 days before ballots are sent out under state law. If voters aren't on the list, they will not receive a ballot. Okay? You will not receive a ballot if you're not on that list. It also allows state officials to make supplemental submissions to enroll additional individuals or modify prior submissions until the last day that ballots may be mailed out to individuals under state law. In this way, the provision tactically admits that it will lead to errors that need to be fixed, whether through supplemental submissions or modifying prior submissions. Those errors caused by new federal government program that is not explicitly authorized by Congress are precisely the kind of harm that plaintiffs challenging the executive order seek to prevent. In their lawsuits, Democrats and voting rights advocates argued that using the USPS list, as well as other federal registration lists included in Trump's order, would lead to eligible voters being unable to cast ballots. In part, that's because the list would rely on the Department of Homeland Security databases that have shown to have serious flaws. USPS also said the names of mail-in voters would be associated with a unique barcode that is assigned to their ballot. It claimed that the barcode would help determine adherence to federal law and facilitate law enforcement efforts. Justin Levitt, a law professor at Loyola Marymount University and a former deputy assistant attorney general at the Department of Justice, said in a social media post Friday that the proposed rule was a move towards Trump order being ruled unconstitutional. One step closer to standing, which means one step closer to the end of this charade, Levitt said, referring to U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols' ruling on Thursday. While Nichols did not necessarily disagree with Democrats and pro-voting groups that Trump's order could be unlawful, he said that they couldn't show that they had been harmed by it because federal agencies hadn't acted on the directives. Much like I said, they hadn't implemented it yet, so there was no real harm done yet, but obviously the potential for harm at that point. It says here that it is not aimed at the plaintiffs, but instead tells only agencies to do something. The Postal Service did not immediately respond for Democracy Docket's request for comment. Friday was the deadline Trump included in his order for Postmaster General David Steiner to initiate a rulemaking process for formal implementation for the president's mail-in voting restrictions. So again, just the recent ploy here, the recent plan of the Trump administration to make it more difficult for people to vote in this country, and obviously try to, again, mitigate the damages that they're likely to see in the midterm elections, and if this sticks, ongoing into general elections for some time to come here. So again, if this doesn't piss you off, if you're not pissed off enough now to get out of your seats and into the streets and start demanding some accountability and change in this fucking country, here's another instance in which I don't know what's going to do it. Blatantly unconstitutional, blatantly taking the right of voting that people have in this country away from them to benefit themselves because of the fucking shitty and horrendously dangerous and destructive policies that they've put in place, and the fact that they know they're going to get there or should get their fucking asses handed to them in the midterm elections and going forward for any other elections beyond that. If you got a brain inside your fucking dome piece. But all right, let's, before that pisses too many people off, we need to keep an eye on this. And obviously all of the things that are happening just like that from the Republicans in Mississippi, Alabama, Virginia, I mean, you name it, Texas. These things are all and have the potential to add up to, again, them getting away with, if not mitigating the losses that they should face in the midterm elections, outright just kind of escaping those losses and doing enough damage behind the scenes to make sure that enough people can't vote, so that they, in fact, kind of benefit from that, mightily, really. It's kind of crazy how blatant this has become. But let's see if we can jump on to this next topic, this next story here, because, I told you so. I don't like saying I told you so, but we've talked about this time and time again. The red line from Iran is Israel was definitely part of that red line, right? Their attacks against Lebanon. Right, their attacks, and again, for the world in the West Bank and again in Gaza is something that everybody is and should be calling out at this point in time. But this is the red line seems to have come to play here. The red line seems to have kind of finally been thrust into the position that they've been talking about it, because it says Tehran suspends talks with U.S. over Israel's attacks in Lebanon. Iranian media reports Trump later proposed that after discussions with Israel and representatives from Hezbollah amounting easing tensions, talks between the U.S. and Iran were back on at a rapid pace, which is ridiculous considering the bombs and missiles that were again dropped inside of Lebanon. But I'll continue here because this says Iran suspended high-stakes negotiations with the United States on Monday to protest Israel's expanding military offensive in Lebanon, according to government-aligned media, complicating efforts to end a 3-month war. The Iranian negotiating team will suspend talks and the exchange of texts through mediators, the semi-official news agency Tasnim reported. Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf told Lebanese Parliament Speaker Nabir Berri on Monday that Iran might retaliate if Israel attacks in Lebanon continue. Over the past 2 days, we have seriously pursued efforts to stop Israel's attacks. If these crimes continue, we will not only suspend the negotiation process, but we will also stand against the Zionist regime. If an agreement is reached to the end of the war between Iran and the United States, it will include a halt to attacks on all fronts, especially in Lebanon. Iran's foreign ministry also said in a statement Monday that the U.S. bears direct responsibility for both the violations of the ceasefire against Iran and for the violations committed by the Zionist regime against Lebanon. That said, Trump wrote on Monday on Truth Social that he had spoken to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and representatives from Hezbollah. He said no troops would go to Beirut. Again, that doesn't really stop or do anything to prevent Benjamin Netanyahu for producing the destruction that we've seen in there. We'll go on to read his little bullshit after that, but this is where, let me see here. Do they go on to talk about the Bab el-Mandeb in this one, or is this the next one that I have up there? I think it might be this one. Let me throw this one on the screen real quick, because this is from Al Jazeera English. It says Yemen's Houthis have entered the war by launching strikes on Israel, and some analysts have warned that their arrival could open another front in the war, the potential blockade of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which since day one in this war we have been reporting on as a potential escalation and a potential a potential fucking knife in the back of the world economy if in fact they are allowed to control both of these straits at the same time and to stop the global shipping that goes through these straits at the same time. That is going to have huge economic ramifications that we haven't seen yet, right? I know we think we're in the shit of it and the thick of it right now, and we are, but this goes on and says, don't close Bab el-Mandeb Strait now. Please wait. Let me connect enough food, oil, and medicine first. There was a couple here kind of detailing some of these statements here on the Bab el-Mandeb, but Houthis open new front in the war in Iran. Will Yemeni group block Bab el-Mandeb, which is a question we've been asking again since day one. me see if I'll throw this one on here, because this is by Forbes as well, kind of detailing a little bit more of if we're likely to see it. It says, could Bab el-Mandeb be the next Strait of Hormuz? Iran suggests targeting new front, much like you've heard consistently on the show, as a possibility. Iran's Houthis allies in Yemen could rejoin the ongoing conflict with the U.S. and Israel by potentially targeting the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the critical waterway connecting the Indian Ocean to the Red Sea, according to multiple reports that cited Iranian state-affiliated media, as Iran cuts off talks with the United States. So, again, these talks go nowhere, and it looks like the escalatory aspects of the war continue to rise, whether that be, these defensive strikes that the United States is doing. And again, how the fuck you can conduct a defensive strike in somebody else's airspace over somebody else's territory is fucking beyond me, right? I understand a defensive strike if somebody's coming into your territory, right? Or if you have a ship in international waters and they're flying into your airspace. But how the fuck you can conduct a defensive strike, it by definition is an offensive thing, right? You have to add the word defensive onto that to make it not offensive. But if you're over somebody else's airspace, right? If you're in a territory you shouldn't fucking be in the first place, and then you decide to take out a boat, or you decide to take out a missile site or a fucking drone site, launch site, that's an offensive strike. Period, point fucking blank. That is not a defensive strike whatsoever. And it's fucking asinine and ludicrous for them to consistently say this thing like we're going to buy it. Like, oh, God, it's just defensive strikes and defensive missile launches and defensive fucking murders on people. It's just, okay. They said defensive, so maybe we can call it out. It's just ridiculous. But this goes on to say here that Iranian news agency Tasnim reported the ceasefire between Iran and the U.S. could end, which it already has and has been ended for quite some time, if Israel's campaign against Hezbollah in Lebanon continues, and the country's allies in Yemen could block the Bab el-Mandeb to punish Israel. An English-language post on X in April, Ali Akbar Velayati, an advisor to Iran's new supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei, said the U.S.'s opposition views Bab el-Mandeb as it does Hormuz, the key oil transport route Iran effectively closed after the war began and the U.S. began blockading in April. Although Iran does not border the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, Yemen does, and Iran closely allied with the Houthis, the Yemeni militant group that previously conducted dozens of strikes against Israel-linked vessels in the Red Sea in 2023 and 2024. The Houthis began launching missiles at military targets in Israel in late March. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz has caused global prices to skyrocket, as has pushed average gasoline prices in U.S. above $4 a gallon, as you guys know. But it says war heats back up in Lebanon. Israel began fighting Hezbollah in Lebanon after the group came to it. That's just kind of giving you a little backstory on it. But again, why is the Bab el-Mandeb Strait important? The closure of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait could further disrupt global trade, blocking yet another choke point for petroleum export nations to ship oil and natural gas out of the region. An estimated 4.1 million barrels of petroleum products traveled through the strait per day in 2024, according to the U.S. Energy Information Agencies. In comparison, about 20 million barrels traveled through the Strait of Hormuz. So again, not as much as far as that's concerned, but I do believe it is responsible for about 12% of global shipping above the oil and petroleum supplies. So it says the Bab el-Mandeb Strait is one of the alternative routes for petroleum exporters to ship oil to Asia. About 7 million barrels of oil are now shipped to the Saudi Arabian city of Yanbu, a port of the Red Sea, through a pipeline. It says that the oil reaches Yanbu, then transits through the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Trump's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz comes only days after Saudi Arabia announced it restored full pumping capacity through the pipeline to pre-war levels, about 7 million barrels per day after the pipeline came under attack from likely Iranian missiles and drones. So again, you can see here what impact it would have just after Saudi Arabia said that they're trying to get things back online. The Houthis have not attacked vessels in the Bab el-Mandeb yet, instead targeting Israel with missiles, but analysts who spoke to Political and Al Jazeera predicted the group could start targeting ships in the strait, similar to the campaign they undertook in recent years during the Gaza war. Earlier in March, Iran's state-affiliated Tasnim news agency quoted an Iranian military source that threatened, quote, insecurity in the Bab el-Mandeb and Red Sea if the U.S. struck Iran's Karg Island outside of oil. Bab el-Mandeb, located on the sea route to Asia after passing through the Suez Canal, sees about 12% of all global trade. So add in the Strait of Hormuz and everything that's supposed to be flowing through there. Add in 12% of all global trade. And what did it say? 7 million barrels, 4.1 million barrels of petroleum products every single day going through this strait. and then tell me what kind of economic impacts we're going to see, right? Tell me what economic impacts the world is going to be facing. We're talking about the Asian Pacific markets, the European markets here in the United States. I mean, you fucking name it. And if this, in fact, does come to reality, come to fruition, then we're going to pay a pretty heavy and substantial price. And that is on top of the experts reporting here that even if the Strait of Hormuz was open today or even yesterday, that we would be feeling these effects for quite some time. And it's going to be, quite some time before we get back to any sense of normalcy, if that's even possible. You know what I mean? Because once these companies and the CEOs start seeing their profit margins, it's usually pretty difficult for them to then drop the price, even if in fact it's supposed to be dropped based off of the cost for that product, right? So again, we saw that time and time again with these corrupt CEOs and how they, what was it, the shrinkflation during COVID and shit like that. I mean, just one example. But if this happens, if this is actually something that we're likely to see, then it's going to be some serious problems. But again, this is the reason why the talks have stopped. Okay. Pretty clear to see, something we've reported on time and time again in this show. It's a red line for the Iranians. They've told the United States if they don't get their dog on a leash over there, Benjamin Netanyahu, in control, and have him stop bombing and killing people all over the fucking place, that we're not going to engage in peace talks. We're going to keep the strait closed. And in fact, not only are we going to keep the strait closed, but we're going to continue to retaliate against U.S. bases. We're going to continue to retaliate against Israel. We're going to probably, involve our proxies, the Houthis, to get in control over the Bab El-Mandeb. And if you guys want to fucking play ball, we're game. Basically is what they're saying here. But this is from the Telegraph detailing Israel drone strikes killed 8 people in Lebanon just hours after Donald Trump said Israel and Hezbollah had agreed to stop attacking each other. Right? To show you just the lunacy of the times we're in. Just reported on that last tweet. How Donald Trump said he got Hezbollah and he got fucking Benjamin Netanyahu and he got him in a room and he got him to talk and there'll be no more actions. There'll be no troops. Well, obviously that didn't fucking last too long, right? Obviously he has no control, no power, no leverage over Benjamin Netanyahu to get him to do fucking anything, right? Because this says just hours after Donald Trump claimed that he had agreed to stop attacking each other, both Israel and Hezbollah, Israel drones killed 8 people in Lebanon, right? And whether that's Tyre, how do you say that? Is Tyre? Or Tyre? I feel like Tyre is disrespectful way to say it, but maybe that's the way to say it there. But several towns in areas in and around Beirut that were hit heavily. I think I have a couple of the. Yeah, there was one here from The Guardian as well. Let me throw this on the screen. And again, I think this was the strike. This was from a few days ago. But again, just kind of detailing some of the strikes that they've been seeing in the ongoing actions here perpetrated by Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli military. Let me just throw this on your screen real quick, make this a little bigger. And this is just one of the strikes, like I said. So it says here, eyewitness footage captures Israeli airstrike in southern Lebanon. And again, look at the cars, look at the apartment buildings, look at the, obviously the density of population in the area, in areas that have been consistently struck by them. And obviously you could tell that a lot of people are being harmed. A lot of people are being killed in these strikes. This isn't kind of out in the fucking country, hitting some remote training camp of ISIS or fucking Hezbollah out in the middle of nowhere. This is cities. These are fucking apartment complexes on fucking homes, on homes, on everything else, businesses. And this is the type of shit that we're consistently seeing here. We've already talked about in the first several days of this war, how there was about 1 million Lebanese already displaced. I shudder to think what that number is up to at this point. But again, here's that strike. I think you get it from a couple different angles here. I mean, just look at the concentration of buildings, right? Look at the concentrations of buildings. What damage do you think you're going to do? Why did the international community, why were we in such an uproar with the 2,000-pound bombs being dropped in the most heavily populated area, on Earth, basically? Like, obviously, that's going to kill innocent civilians. Obviously, people aren't going to be able to get out of the way of that. Obviously, buildings are going to be brought down on top of people. Like the rescue is made that much more difficult when a 24-story building comes down on top of itself or on top of the fucking occupants, right? There's all of these things just make it fucking that much more egregious what we're seeing. So again, we're just looking at a couple different angles of that strike, I believe, taken from different cell phone cameras. So, and there was this one as well. Let me see. Yeah, this was the reporting that I wanted to talk about from Axios. Let me see. Oh, let me go back. Let me see if there was anything else on this one that I wanted to see. I don't think there was. Might be on this one. Let me throw this one back on your screen. There was one of these that I wanted to scroll through because I think there was a couple other. Yeah, there was just, I mean, here's from 5 hours ago here. Lebanon says Israel struck strikes near hospital, killed 4, wounded 127. You can see what is clearly a flattened building in a very heavily populated area. Again, just some of these pictures coming out from these strikes. Israel kept up strikes on southern Lebanon on Tuesday, pressing its campaign against Hezbollah, coming a day after U.S. President Donald Trump asked Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to attack Beirut, averting further escalation in a 3-month-old war. Obviously, that wasn't heeded there. Let me see here if there's anything else detailing some of these strikes. I know some of the footage is horrendous, so we don't have to get into the nitty and gritty, but obviously some of these strikes here. Israel continues strikes on Lebanon. That's Aoun. I know there was Tyre as well, and there was Dafra, if I'm getting that right, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. That might be reported on this same thing here. Israel Katz. No, I don't care what he has to say. Here's one here. Israel drone strikes in southern Lebanon on Tuesday killed 8 people, including a father and his 2 children, a day after U.S. President said Israel and the Iranian-backed Hezbollah agreed to dial back fighting. Again, showing you what an asinine statement and comment that is. See here. This is war clouds over diplomacy. U.S. again strikes Iran as Israel continues attacks on Lebanon. Israel's government Monday ordered strikes on southern suburbs of Beirut on Monday, a day after its ground forces reached their deepest point in Lebanon in 26 years, and as Hezbollah fired rockets at northern Israel, including the outskirts of the coastal city Haifa. Let's see here. I think there was a couple of these that detail these specific towns. I know Tyre or Tire. Sorry if I get. Yeah, here it is right here. Israel strikes against southern Lebanon continue, including Tyre and Nabatea. And I believe there was one more as well. Yeah, here it is. Dahia. Iranian regime exploits EU fears of Israel-Lebanon escalation, risking civil war and mass migration to Europe after Beirut Dahia strikes. So again, just showing kind of the persistence and the ongoing strikes, that fly in the face of everything that you're being told by Donald Trump and his administration or Axios, right? Here's another one. This was 4 hours ago. Israel strikes against southern Lebanon continue, including Tyre and Nabatea. Why are you silent? Some more destruction being seen there. More destruction out of that window. Pretty clear to see. Here's another one, right? Israel continued strikes in Lebanon despite efforts to prevent escalation. Tensions remain high as ceasefire talks continue. No, they're not, with concerns growing over regional stability and the risk of a wider conflict. So let me see that. And then we'll put this in. Talking about ridiculous reporting, right? Here's the story from Axios that you guys probably, I'm sure, heard, where reportedly, allegedly, Donald Trump decided to get tough all of a sudden with Benjamin Netanyahu, decided to kind of unleash some swears and call him an idiot and say he kept him out of jail and all this bullshit. But again, the person that's reporting this, I believe, was Barak Ravid, if I'm not mistaken. Again, the guy that it somehow manages to do all this reporting from inside of Donald Trump's anus hole. But, take it with a grain of salt what's being reported here. But I think this is the administration trying to in some way save face right now. Obviously, we've talked time and time again about the support for Israel just going downhill rapidly. And Donald Trump even reportedly mentions that in this. But seems to be that he knows that these ongoing attacks and the fact that this is a red line with Iran and it's directly related to what Benjamin Netanyahu is doing. We know Netanyahu doesn't want to stop the war. The longer he's in charge of a country at war, the longer he can get out of accountability for his corruption trials. Obviously, the accountability for the international warrant he has for being a fucking war criminal as well. But this says Donald Trump reportedly lashed out at Netanyahu, telling him, "You're fucking crazy," and that everyone, quote unquote, hates Israel because of him, after Iran threatened to suspend peace talks with the U.S. over Israel strikes in Lebanon. And this is, again, just a couple of the paragraphs here. U.S. officials summarized Trump's remarks as, quote, "You'd be in prison if it weren't for me. I'm saving your ass. Everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this." Another source said Trump also demanded of Netanyahu, "What the fuck are you doing?" The confrontation reportedly came after Iran warned that continued Israeli operations in Lebanon could undermine broader ceasefire and diplomatic efforts. Trump is said to have pressured Netanyahu to cancel a planned strike on Beirut, which apparently they didn't do, with Israeli officials later indicating that the operation was shelved following the call. No, it wasn't. Absolutely fucking not. And again, whether or not they just said, yeah, we'll shelve that one and we'll just start up another one, or okay, let's we'll take the Donald Trump route of things and we'll just give that mission a different name. We saw Project Freedom, fucking Operation Epstein Fury. So they think if they just consistently change the names of these things, they don't need to seek congressional approval. Well, pretty much how Benjamin Netanyahu's playing this. If they just change the name, if they tell Trump it's been shelved, well, we shelved that specific plan, but this specific plan that kind of had the same intent and the same goals, we enacted that one. So as you can see by the devastation and destruction ongoing in Beirut there. Here it goes on to say the exchange marks one of the most public signs of tension between the two leaders. Trump has long been one of Netanyahu's strongest international supporters, previously backing him during his corruption trial and taking a strong pro-Israel stance throughout his political career. However, the reported call suggests growing frustration within the White House over Israeli actions that could threaten U.S. diplomatic objectives in the region. And then they go on to give, I think, a little bit more detailing of what's this one say? I think this is just where he calls him an idiot and crazy. Trump calls Netanyahu fucking crazy and says he made everyone hate Israel. Again, true. It is true. But whether or not Donald Trump said these things, again, take it with a grain of salt. You guys let me know in the chat if you think this is true, or if this is just another one of Barack Ravid and Axios's propaganda pieces. There was actually one here. I know we'll run out of time. I probably won't have time, but there was a Nick Fuentes video that he pulled up calling out Trump on all of this, calling out Netanyahu and all this, obviously coming from his anti-Semitic angle, his bigoted racist angle as well. But even those psychopaths, even the psychopaths like Nick Fuentes, recognize kind of how Donald Trump looks weak and insignificant right now, how he doesn't look like he has control whatsoever over the war with Iran or his partner in crime, Benjamin Netanyahu. But, I'll stop and I won't subject you guys to any Nick Fuentes. But all right, let's dive on to this one, because this is kind of a little bit of a feel-good story, right? This is a little bit of a let's point and laugh story. This is coming from the Majority Report. This is Sam and Emma, and they're talking about Dave Rubin's appearance on Jubilee. Jubilee, in case anybody isn't familiar, once again, is that, the political roundtable show where it's, they'll have one conservative against 20 liberals or 20 fucking progressives or whatever the shit, you know what I mean? Or again, vice versa, they'll have one liberal against 20 conservatives and they all get their chance and their turn. I'm sure you've seen it to some extent. But Dave Rubin thought that he had what it takes to get in front of, I think it was progressives, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was in front of a group of progressives. And boy, does he fucking regret that decision. Boy, oh boy, is he regretting that decision now, because he got his ass chopped off and fucking handed to him between two fucking slices of bread with a little bit of cheese. He was served a Dave Rubin asshole sandwich right to his face here. And because Jubilee is a little bit, strict on copyright and shit, I figured it'd be probably a little bit more comical and a little bit safer here to utilize Sam and Emma going over this. And this is a 34-minute segment. We don't have to dive into the whole thing. I'll kind of skip through some of their commentary and skip through some of the clips here from Dave Rubin getting his clock cleaned. I think who's the kid that the TikTok kid that's pretty good at what he does there? Parker, I think the kid's name is one of the people that demolished Dave Rubin. But it was a pretty consistent demolishing of everybody that stepped in front of Dave Rubin. It wasn't just Parker, but I think he has probably some of the more recognizable clips here. But what do you say we dive into just a couple minutes of Dave Rubin's stupidity, if I may? And again, it's a chef's kiss to see these idiots just get beat down, smacked down in front of cameras and microphones in front of the world to see. And again, exposed as the propagandistic hacks that they are. So again, let's see if we can dive into just a couple minutes of this. I appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. My name's Brian. I really do appreciate you guys for supporting this channel, hitting that like, subscribe button, all of those things, all of the Venmos, all of the super chats, all of the membership gifting, all of that is very much appreciated, guys. And I can't thank you enough. So, all right, let's dive into the shout out to Emma and Sam on the Majority Report. And again, we're going after Dave Rubin here on Jubilee.
Of viewership, but also suffering from a real loss of guiding principle as to why he's still doing this. You can see he has AI doing half of his show now.
Can you make the AI talk to Russell Brand and Jillian Michaels?
He's just like he's just going from August vacation to August vacation, trying to get through. Let me record a bunch of these, and I'll just say this stuff, and then my producer that we hire for August will just throw in clips, and he's trying to revive his desire to do this. And he knows.
To the clips. Here we go.
In the meantime, he's sitting down with this kid. I don't know what this guy's name is, but he's good. I've seen
Parker, I think.
He's very, very sharp. And just look at the expression on Dave Rubin's face when he realizes, like, I've got a problem here.
And again, before we dive into this clip, there is not a single portion of this clip in which Dave Rubin is correct. There is not a single portion of this where he gets, a leg up on Parker. There's not one fucking clip or portion of this clip where he gets some sort of jab in, or it's like, oh, something you could be like, oh, well, that's nothing. Not a single portion of this entire fucking Jubilee video. I think Dave Rubin got a single point across. Not one. When I say he got demolished, he got demolished about as much as he can be. And again, in a political debate, but his ass was handed to him, boy, oh boy, on a sweet fucking slice of rye.
His lip can't even hide it.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is a Parker get a job on Instagram.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
All right, good. What is one main metric that Donald Trump has made better off since he got in office? So like an example would be GDP, unemployment, inflation, et cetera.
Well, right now, first off, the big beautiful bill was just passed last year and it's kicking in now, right? It's kicking in now.
Pause it for a second.
I mean, he's outright getting laughed at, right? I mean, that is just fucking terrible. It really is. And again, it's a lot of the reactions from the people in the back that make this great. Like, they had just bewildered and dumbfounded by the stupidity of this guy. Like, I'm sure they thought to some extent he would come in with some sort of, I don't know, research, some sort of facts and figures to back up what he's trying to say. But he thought that he was smart enough to go in there with no work, apparently, no research being done, no facts, no figures whatsoever. And again, he paid the price here. So the question is, can you name anything? What economic fucking, what benefit have we seen through Donald Trump's second term? Anything. Just give me, job growth, anything, GDP, whatever you want to say. Give me something. And he
Stop right there. It's kicking in now.
It's just about to kick in.
We've just only now begun to throw people off of Medicaid.
Yeah.
People are laughing at him. Like, within seconds. So it's the whole premise of what he's about to say is like, believe me, it's coming. Infrastructure week is going to be here.
This is the same Dave Rubin who thought the Iran thing was going to be wrapped up in a couple of weeks.
And here is the amazing thing. Rubin knows he's going in there. He writes the claims. And his claim is, if you're voting for Democrats, you're voting for broken cities, broken schools, broken borders. And he's being asked, like, what is the evidence that what your project is doing? And Dave, if he really believed like the big, beautiful bill was going to pay off, he would cite specific elements of this big, beautiful bill.
But he doesn't.
Like, everybody knew the tax cuts were coming. The rich people who got all the tax cuts, they knew they were coming. So it's not like, oh, they're only finding out now that they're paying less taxes. No, they've known for over a year. And according to Dave Rubin's, like, that's what's going to help the economy. They know they're not going to have to pay these taxes. So they got this extra money to invest in all this job creation.
The job creators had to wait till April 16th because they didn't know what they were getting in their tax return yet to invest in the country.
And now it's job creation season.
It's job creation season. There's a time to reap and a time to sow.
Like I said, it's a long clip here. They rip into him pretty good here through the majority point, but I'm just going to dive into this next clip real quick.
Good.
Last year and it's kicking in now, right? It's kicking in
They're
now.
laughing at him.
Okay, so we're going to now see results of that, like even the tariffs. All right, so let's do tariffs. Are you for or against tariffs?
Against the universal tariff. So what's the main metric that he made better off?
What?
What's the main metric that he made?
So you see, Dave Rubin, this is what the Republicans do. If they don't have an answer to the question, they try to obfuscate, right? They try to do the whataboutisms. They try to change the subject. They go on to a different topic. They do anything they possibly can other than, make it seem like, or, let everybody know that they don't have an answer to the question. So Parker, not letting them off the hook. Okay, great, with the bullshit and the words that you just put together making absolutely no sense. But can you answer the question that I just directly asked you? By what metric are we better off? What is the again, the benefit that we've seen here from Donald Trump's second term? And again, he's getting fucking laughed at by the people in the background because he's got no answer for it.
Better off GDP, unemployment, inflation. Do you have any idea?
Listen.
They're all laughing at him.
I mean, again, I don't know if you guys have seen this a lot or at all, but it's not typically like this. It's not typically that you get the entire circle just blatantly pointing and laughing at the moron that can't back up his claims. Like, again, this is supposed to be the guy. It is Dave Rubin as the guy on the show that's supposed to be the best at what he does, or good at what he does at least, taking on 20 or 25 progressives or something like that, right? So it's supposed to be him being the highlight, the main person, getting through all of these people and fucking, beating them down, with the facts that he's come up with or the facts that he knows or anything. But he can't come up with one single statement of fact. He can't beat one of these people in a single topic of debate, not a single one.
We got to play. And is there a way to slow this down? Because he tries to distract. Because Dave obviously has like one thing to say.
And they
searching aimlessly.
Look at what they're talking about is his eyes. Like, they don't know if he's looking at the time. Like, hopefully this fucking clock goes a lot quicker, or if he's trying desperately to find some sort of, I don't know, fact, relevant figure, statistic, piece of data through that fucking monkey brain of his to pull out to save him from this hellhole that he's in. But look at him. He's just like, he's dead in the eyes right there. Absolutely dead in the eyes. And let's go on. I'll go on to this next clip here too. It gets worse.
His look, and everybody laughs at him.
Yeah.
Listen.
I don't think you do.
Do you think, hold on. So you're arguing that things economically were better under Joe Biden
At the end of his administration, absolutely.
Yeah. So can you give me an example of how?
Yeah, GDP growth was better off.
This is great. So you are arguing that things were better under Joe Biden, right? And can you give me some sort of fact, Dave Rubin says to that? And Parker says, bet. Hold my fucking beer. Here's some facts for you, Chief. Listen to this.
Under Joe Biden.
At the end of his administration, absolutely.
Yeah. So can you give me an example of how?
Yeah, GDP growth was better off. Real median wage growth was better off. Inflation was better off at the end of his administration. Unemployment was better off at the end of his administration. We had the worst year of job growth in the past 4 years, just this last year under Trump's administration. The inflation, 3.8% year over year since Trump got in office. We're seeing.
Look at Dave. Look at Dave's like, fuck, why'd I ask that question? Shit. Why the fuck would I ask that question? And Jubilee famously does fact checks, right? So anything that's said here by people, if it's kind of a point of contention or if it's unsure and not blatantly obvious, they'll put up the fact checks, and they do the same thing for here. And it's not a good look for Dave Rubin, I can assure you.
Go back. That was the cut. That was the face that I thought was just like, honestly, this is like the look on the face of someone who's just been punched in the head like 10 times and is trying to make it seem like to the ref, like the fight's not over.
I'm good.
Go back just a hair. Job
growth in the past 4 years, just this last year under Trump's administration. The inflation, 3.8% year over year since Trump got in office. We're seeing all of those economic indicators become worse off. Can you tell me anything that he's done to make it better off? You see, it's broken for Democrats. It sounds like it's broken right now under Trump.
Have you looked at the stock market?
It's worse off in terms of growth in 2020.
Again, all they have, that's all they point back to. Remember Pam Bondi in the Epstein hearing? Well, the stock market's over 50,000. Why does anybody care about the Epstein files? Fucking legit the same line that fucking Dave Rubin just pulled out. Well, all those things are true. Everything is shit right now. Everybody's worse off. But, the stock market, if you're a billionaire, if you got, something involved in that, which again, not many people that are suffering right now do. But again, if you're part of that 1%, or if you're part of the Epstein class and the billionaires that are surrounding Trump and feeding him and funneling money his way and vice versa, then again, maybe you are doing pretty well. But the rest of us, not so much.
Compared to 2024, if you look at Dow Jones and S&P 500,
they're both up quite a bit right now,
but lower rate,
and
lower
doing
growth
quite
rate.
well. Things don't happen overnight. So Donald Trump, for example,
even Parker points out that even the Republicans and conservatives that like to point out the stock market, it's actually growing at a lesser rate, right? The Parker just said right there. I'll let him repeat it real quick.
2025 is compared to 2024. If you look at Dow Jones and S&P 500,
they're both up quite a bit right now,
but lower rate, and
doing
growth
quite
rate.
well.
Lower growth rate, right? So the growth rate is lower, but again, looking at just the numerical value of it is something that they continuously try to do every single time. Well, it's at 48, it's at 46, it's at 49, it's at 50, so nothing else must matter, right? We can't call out anything else because apparently, the stock market is doing okay.
Don't happen overnight. So Donald Trump, for example,
let's just be clear. everyone
And just the visceral reaction. We don't have to go into too much more of that, but you can tell how much he got they just used him to wipe the floor, basically. That was probably the cleanest that Jubilee floor has been after a debate in the history of Jubilee, because they were just mopping the goddamn floor with Dave Rubin's face on that whole episode. And again, I would implore anybody to, if you like and you're kind of in that sadistic type of watching Republicans and conservatives suffer aspect, and take a look at that. Go back to Jubilee there. But here is this next topic. Here's this next one that I wanted to get into. And this is, again, detailing the ongoing corruption and how blatant it is. This is, again, Megyn Kelly and Sean Ryan sitting down together. Only about a two-minute clip here of this whole thing. Not too much that we have to get into. But this is Sean Ryan, again, going after Trump's corruption. I think Megyn Kelly at some point was trying to say that J.D. Vance was the front runner and what a tough position he was in. And to Sean Ryan's credit, wasn't fucking having it. You know what I mean? He says he doesn't give a shit. What's going on in this country is so blatantly awful. Clearly, this administration isn't working for the people. It should be incumbent upon J.D. Vance, if again he had any morals, ethics, or true beliefs, which we don't believe he does over here on this side, he would come out and speak against this shit if in fact he didn't agree with what was going on, which is again what some of the reporting suggests, and I'm sure what J.D. Vance is going to kind of lean into for his future political aspirations. But again, this is just a short piece at the end of their discussion in which Sean Ryan kind of lays it on Megyn, right? She kind of details, and this is just after she had come out with some bullshit about how difficult the position J.D. Vance is in, and oh God, he couldn't possibly speak up against the administration, and I think he's kind of the next front runner, and he's the guy. Sean Ryan doesn't agree so much, and again, he goes on to just in a short version, a short clip, detail just some of the corruption and frustrations. And again, ex-CIA, I believe he was a Navy SEAL. Correct me if I'm wrong. Definitely an intelligent person with a very particular set of skills that, again, we are kind of shocked time and time again to see these people were wrapped up in this propaganda and this bullshit ever to begin with. But at least, like I say, Sean Ryan, to a certain extent, coming out of the clouds, getting his head out of the clouds and being at least more willing to call out the corruption, call out what's going on with the Epstein files, call out how Trump isn't working for the people, more so than any of his other colleagues that, again, were in part responsible for getting us to this position, whether by, having Trump or Vance or any one of his cabinet members on their podcast, or, again, demeaning and degrading Democrats or lying about Democratic policies, whatever it may be. They had a hand in getting us into this position. But like I said, at least to some extent, they're starting to recognize how badly they've been lied to, how badly they've been propagandized. And this is just a short clip from this discussion between these two.
You know about that?
Yeah, that they started in D.C.
You don't hear about any of this shit.
Yeah.
Does this shit look like he's serving the fucking people? No.
Well, I'm going to go back just a second. I think we missed just a second of that real quick.
Him or anybody in his family could never be.
Yeah, here we go. Ready? Let me go back just a couple seconds. I'll end where she ends her statement and pick up where Sean picks up here.
That's what happens when you accept this job. You put yourself in that very difficult position.
So she's trying to give J.D. Vance an out. She's trying to give him some sort of excuse to be like, well, he can't. He's got his hands tied. He can't possibly go against the Fuhrer. He can't possibly go against the boss, right? I mean, and point blank, she asked Sean Ryan, is that what you want him to do? Do you want him to speak out against Trump? Do you want him to speak out against the administration? Do you want him to be kind of ostracized from the movement? And Sean says, yes. That's what it fucking is going to take. That's what it should take. If you're truly against all this shit and you truly want to call it out, then fucking truly call it out. Don't be half-assed. Don't be fucking going out half-cocked. If you're going to do it, fucking do it.
Ideal.
I just don't see any positivity coming out of this administration. It seems very self-serving. I have a list of shit printed I could go through, but what was the last one? He fucking made it so he had Tom Blanche do the dirty work so that him or anybody in his family could never be audited by the IRS. What the fuck is that shit?
Mm-hmm.
The drone company, the $400 million jet from Qatar.
Yep.
The executives
and I think the drone company he's referencing to Eric Trump. Again, he didn't even bring up or reference the $640 million contract that a Trump Jr., a Don Jr. backed company saw as part of the Pentagon just throwing fucking money to Trump's allies, his friends, his family, his companies associated with him. So I believe that's what he's referencing when he talked about the drone.
You know about that?
Yeah, that they started in D.C.
You don't hear about any of this shit.
Yeah.
Does this shit look like he's serving the fucking people?
Nope.
No. So you're going to serve that? Or are you going to speak out against it and let everybody know what the fuck is happening?
You think he'd be better off?
Fox News sure as fuck isn't reporting any of this shit.
None of it. None of it. No, there's no question that the corruption in the administration has been far beyond what
He
I ever
sued the
expected.
fucking government. He sued his own fucking government. For what? Like, how much?
Okay, but that I can defend because
10
look,
billion.
he was maliciously prosecuted by the DOJ. Do you remember Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, those two FBI agents
How
who were
can
like,
you possibly defend the president of the United States suing his own fucking government? And again, remove whatever criminalities or illegalities happened to him or whatever the fuck. Again, doesn't really make sense considering the presidents are supposed to be releasing their taxes and information regardless, right? But, put that aside. Why the fuck would he, as president, be allowed and afforded the right to sue his own fucking government that he's presiding over? Right? If there was any action to be had, why couldn't that wait till after his term? Right? Why would it be his personal fucking attorney, Todd Blanche, as a head of the DOJ and Donald Trump as the president of the United States fucking concocting this ridiculous lawsuit that fucking, again, got Trump's family out of audits, that is going to give the slush fund, potentially to these fucking J6s and people that committed crimes on Donald Trump's behalf. How the fuck can we defend that? That's asinine, right? And again, if you think he was wronged, that's one thing. But we could also say, why the fuck wouldn't he wait or be forced to be a private citizen before he took legal action? Therefore, he couldn't profit off of the government that he's presiding over. Therefore, he couldn't sue the government that he's now presiding over, again, while his personal fucking attorney, Todd Blanche, is heading the DOJ. Asinine.
don't worry, we're going to stop him.
Mm-hmm.
They sued their own government and they got paid $2 million. They got paid, these two who were openly working to defeat a legitimate candidate who'd been nominated by Republicans or was about to be for president. How did they get paid? They complained that somebody leaked their texts to the media and their privacy had been violated, that their government had basically violated their rights.
Yeah, were they presidents at the time? I'm just curious. What number president were these two people? Were they what office did they hold? I'm just curious at that. How much power did they have? Were they known as the most powerful person on the planet at that point? Because I'm gonna highly doubt that. So again, the two stories, the two things that you're comparing now, not comparable, not fucking at all relative, right? The president of the United States suing the government that he's presiding over is in no way comparable to people getting some compensation for something else, not holding that specific position of power.
Right. And Joe Biden's DOJ paid them out $2 million.
Joe Biden, it's
now,
Joe Biden.
$1.8 billion is a lot more. Unprecedented sum that hasn't been approved by answer matters of the purse.
I don't remember her yapping this much.
I feel like this is how he's justified to himself to just take advantage of every little thing that comes across his desk that's going to benefit him financially. He's justified it through what's happened to him previously, which I could understand. But I mean, I'm sorry. Like, it just, you can't
fleece the American taxpayer.
Can't do it like that.
Mm-hmm. No, it's disturbing.
Again, that's how blatant it is. And before, like I said, she went on previously in this discussion to ask him pretty specifically, well, what do you want JD Vance to do? Do you want him to speak up? Do you want him to, to call out Donald Trump? And she was even recognizing that at some point he's going to have to, because if he has political aspirations, he's going to be running as Donald Trump's vice president, right? So he's going to have to, if he's going to disassociate himself with some of the actions of this administration, he's going to have to do it as vice president. You can't do it. We saw, it was kind of like the situation that Kamala Harris was in, right? Not being able to say that she would have done things a hell of a lot differently, right? And trying to not, shit on Biden or anything like that. Like, that's kind of the position that he's going to be in. Like, he's going to have to come out and say he disagrees or wasn't with some of these decisions if he wants to separate himself from this administration. And, and Sean Ryan basically said that that's what a man would do. You know what I mean? If he was an actual man, if he actually had principles and beliefs that he was fucking, really passionate about, he wouldn't care. He would call out what's going on. He would call out the corruption. He would call out the lack of transparency or accountability seen from the Epstein files. He would call out the rest of this fucking nonsense with the wars and the rest of this shit. but he's not, because he's a pussy. That's why, right? The same guy that called Donald Trump America's Hitler before is now more than happy and willing to ride that proximity of power to his political fucking benefit for political aspirations in the future. But I just don't think he knows what kind of a fine line he's going to have to walk, right? I think he's going to have to put himself right in the tiger's mouth, so to speak, in order to kind of get that disassociation, especially to get people to believe that disassociation. But let's see here. There was this one as well, this next story that I want to talk to, because again, that was just how blatant the corruption is. Sean Ryan here, you can see his frustration. You can see how angry he is. And again, to a certain extent, also have to recognize the people that are responsible for getting us in this position, which Megyn Kelly and Sean are two of them. Right. So to keep it clear and not to kind of misrepresent why we're using these clips, I typically like to use the words of the people that got us into this position in the first place against this administration, because it tends to have more impact and effect on the people that need to be impacted and affected. You guys already know this, right? You guys know, you know, all of the shit that we're going to say. You guys know all of the lunacy. You guys know all the ridiculousness, the lies, the propaganda, right? But hearing it from us really doesn't resonate with the people that may be still on the fence or watching in the background that, you know, have these kind of doubts and know they've been lied to but aren't speaking up about it. That's why you typically use, you know, the decrepit Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the idiotic fucking and moronic Tucker Carlson statements, Sean Ryan and his statements, people that are now calling out the administration, not for our benefit, but again, for the possibility that it has to kind of cut through the noise a little bit more to the people that need to hear it. But I want to throw this on the screen as well, because this is something that I think we should all be enraged about. We should all be pissed off about, not that one, even though we should be pissed off at Megyn Kelly, but this one. And I just want to, again, reiterate this by saying it should be absolutely irrelevant what you think of Cenk. It should be absolutely irrelevant what you think of Hassan, whether you agree or disagree. You should never be told you can't enter a fucking country, again, a United States ally, because you criticized Israel. Right. And I know we have much different laws. I know we have different regulations. They don't have the Constitution, freedom of speech, all that whole thing. But still, if this isn't called out and more countries can start or can be pressured by Israel to act like this and to not allow people into your country, not because they criticize the country they're going into, right? Not because they had anything to say about Keir Starmer, not because they had anything to say about the fucking British Parliament, not because they had anything to say about the king, none of that, but because of the fucking statements that they've had against Israel and their genocide, which they're still engaged in right now. You know what I mean? So it is absolutely fucking asinine and ridiculous that this is taking place. And I'm sure he isn't the only people, right? This is just kind of the most recently reported and probably the most high profile, considering he was going on Piers Morgan's show. Piers Morgan later did a show with him, via Zoom, and they talked about this. So everybody's kind of bringing this up and the ridiculousness of not being able to criticize Israel, or else have the fear that you're not going to be able to travel. You're not going to be able to go to different countries around the world because they don't like what you said against Israel, right? What's to stop somebody from me? What's to stop, if I'm ever fortunate enough to be in the position to take a mini vacation or whatever the fuck, what's to say that the things that I've said about Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel, isn't enough to stop me from getting into a specific country? Right? Are they going to deny me access? I know I'm not high profile. I know I'm not well known. So I know that's probably very unlikely to happen. But what's to say that it couldn't? What's to say that what I've said is any different than what Cenk has said? And he even had Piers Morgan on his show saying, I've had you on the show a lot. I've listened to a lot of what you said. I disagree with a lot of it, but I have to say, you're typically pretty good at calling out the government and the military of Israel and not kind of conflating Zionism with Jews, not conflating the government of Israel with Jews, not conflating the military and the government with the people of Israel, the citizenry of Israel. Again, you can call them out if they're making statements. You can call them out if they're part of specific groups, absolutely. But to not just conflate the two as one thing, which I think I've hopefully done a pretty good job of doing here on this channel. I don't recall ever, just the last time I said it, ever even saying the word Jew on this channel. I must say, I have to go back and give myself a little credit where credit is due, because I think I've done a pretty good job of calling out the government's actions, the military's actions, and separating the again, the conflation of Zionism, Judaism, and the people of Israel. So hopefully that is something that you guys recognize as well, and I'm not just blowing smoke up my own ass. But here is just a quick video from Jen, kind of detailing what happened, how he was stopped at, I believe he said he was at LAX, and basically just denied, even though he had a working visa. So again, this is something that needs to be called out, regardless of who it is. If this was Wayne, or if this was Dame Dog, or if this was No Money G, or if this was Alvin or Sean, if this was Tina, any one of you guys in the chat, Pam, if it was you, Ellen, if it was you, Luck Dragon, if it was you, I would be calling it out the same way. So again, irrelevant to who it's happening to, and very important the situation that is happening. So again, just kind of a quick recounting from Jenk. I'll afford him the opportunity to give his side of the story, and we'll go on to it afterwards.
The United Kingdom. I'm at the airport here at LAX, and I was set to go to the UK to give a couple of speeches at South by Southwest London, to be on Piers Morgan tomorrow, live in the studio in London, and to go give a couple of speeches at Oxford. I've been
No, I just saw a question. Was it ICE that refused him? To the best of my knowledge, no. It was the government of England. It was the government themselves that took it upon themselves to deny his visa, a good working visa, he states, and basically stipulate that he's no longer allowed to come into the country because of, again, the things that he's criticized Israel about or said about Israel. I don't know if he's gotten any more clarification. I know in this, it really wasn't too clear as to the reasoning. It was just kind of like a very vague, generalized, no, you can't come because of, your criticism of Israel. Again, as to what he's learned since, I think he was on, like I said, with Piers Morgan. Maybe as this plays, if I have enough time, we could dive into a clip of that, and maybe he's learned a little bit more. But either way, it's asinine. It's ridiculous. It is a clear indication of the power that Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu have over, different governments and what governments do and the policies they enact and, what they're willing to say and do. Obviously this at the higher extent, the higher end of things, of drasticness, of just not letting somebody into your country because you don't like what they said about a country in a nation now actively engaged in genocide and refuses to stop bombing Lebanon in order to have the world come to some fucking peace agreement based upon the war that he and Donald Trump started. So again,
and from the country. So we went to check in, and they said your visa is rejected. I said, what do you mean it's rejected? I already had the visa from over a year ago. And it turns out the British government went out of their way to ban me from the country. So, I wonder why. I wonder why. But hey, don't say anything. They're allowed to ban you. You're not allowed to say anything about it. And if you say anything about it, you'll be banned even more. You see the circular logic of oppression? Now you know the whole world. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything unless it's approved, not by the British government, not by the American government, but by another government. And everybody knows it. So now I know it very personally. This is ludicrous. I don't even know how to compute this. So I have to go back home. I'm banned from the UK. What, forever? For criticizing a different government? What is this? What kind of sick oppression do we all live under? They didn't even give me a reason. Just rejected.
Where'd it go? Did they just take that down? They literally just took that video down as we were watching it.
This is unbelievable.
What the fuck just happened? What's going on right now? It says this video is unavailable. See that right there?
From the United
literally
Kingdom.
attempting to take this down now?
I'm at the
What's
airport here at LAX, and I was set to go to the UK to give
what was that all about?
a couple of speeches at
Because I
South by
did hear that
Southwest
he
London.
had one of his other videos taken down on one of the other sites, but I don't think it was the Instagram one, as far as I was aware of there. But I've criticized Cenk a lot, and rightfully so on his the right wing shift that he's done in trying to appease conservatives, and obviously him and Anna and their fucking their trans bashing and a ton of different shit, legitimate shit. What he is legitimately good on, legitimately good on is this aspect, okay? And he's 100% right with what he's saying here. So credit where credit is due. I think it's a sign of a man for you to be able to give somebody a little bit of credit where you've criticized them before, where they're right. When somebody's right, they're right. You know what I mean? That's it. Doesn't matter who they are, what they've done. We can call out what they've said and done in the past. Absolutely, rightfully so, without problem, without question. But he's 100% right in what he's saying here and the ridiculousness of this taking place. And sorry, I don't have control. If they haven't taken it down, I don't know what that was. It said video had been removed. You guys saw it. But I don't have control over Instagram videos, so you would have to watch that whole thing again in order to see the end of it. But you guys kind of get the gist. It was him and Hassan banned from the UK. I do believe, like I said, on his, and I can see this. Let me see if I put this on. I could probably look that up real quick. Pierce and Jink, but I think he does pretty much just confirm that it was his, his criticism of Israel that really did that as far as what the decision was being made. I don't know if is it out yet? Let me see if it's out real quick. I'll throw this on there. I think we have a couple minutes.
I go to the airport and they just say that I've been rejected. 20 minutes later, that Times article that you mentioned, Pierce, comes out. And it says because I criticize Israel, over 60% of Americans are critical of Israel. Will we all be banned from the UK?
I disagree with Cenk on basically everything. The United Kingdom, or at least their government, hate Israel.
Valentina Gomez, I think she's an appalling human being. He just wants to whip up racial.
Okay, let me see if I can get into just the monologue that Pierce has, because I think he does a pretty good job at saying, listen, I know we disagree on a lot. I've had you on the show a lot, and I've got to say I've never heard you say anything anti-Semitic, and I think you do a pretty good job of, again, relating this to Benjamin Netanyahu, the government, and obviously the military above all.
YouTuber whose self-made business was at the vanguard of a shift from legacy to digital media. He's an outspoken critic of America's meddling in foreign conflicts and of foreign meddling in America's politics. He's a failed presidential candidate, an unashamed hothead, an acquired taste. One thing he's certainly not, though, is an extremist or a dangerous purveyor of threatening hate speech, unless that is you're the British government. Last night, Cenk Uygur planned to board a flight to London and to be told that the UK authorities had revoked his permission to enter the country. Among other things, he'd been invited to speak at South by Southwest London, to give a speech at Oxford University, and to take part in a debate in this very studio. The UK Home Office doesn't publicly disclose why it bans anyone, but Cenk says he was told that he poses a serious risk to public order because of his commentary on Israel. Well, a very detailed report appeared in the Times newspaper quickly after Cenk himself got the news. It refers to his framing of the Gaza war as a genocide and his view that the pro-Israel lobby has a big influence on US politics, as well as other comments made on my show.
Both unabashed, objectively true. On both of which, said by many human rights organizations, the UN. I mean, you could go down the list of people that have rightly called this a genocide. And again, whether or not they're incompetent in their attempts at it is fucking irrelevant too. But that's what their intent is. Not only that, but it's a pretty fucking well-known fact that the Israeli lobby has pretty fucking deep pockets and pretty substantial control over both political fucking parties in this country. Right. So again, both objectively true. So this is what the Home Office is using as their justification, as by the article here in the Times.
You may not agree with any of Cenk's positions, but anyone with even the faintest grasp of popular discourse will know they are mainstream opinions which are freely debated almost every single day. By this standard, half of the guests on the show will be banned from Britain. And on that point, Cenk's nephew, Hassan Piker, another uncensored guest and a very popular streamer, is also banned. He's mainstream enough to appear alongside leading Democrats like Ro Khanna and AOC, but apparently he's too hot for we Brits to handle. Well, Cenk Uygur actually joked about all this a few weeks ago.
I'm coming to London in a couple of weeks, as you know, Piers, and I intend to greatly offend Israel. I don't know if I'll be arrested over there. You know, they have some absurd laws in England. My nephew, Hassan Piker, is coming with me, and he might be arrested because some pro-Israel people think that they can say anything they want about Muslims, but the minute you touch Israel, not even Judaism, they think you should be arrested. Obviously, that kind of double standard is unacceptable and is the refuge of cowards.
Well, and he's right.
He hasn't been arrested, but he has been banned, and all of this amounts to a colossal embarrassment for the UK, which already has an unwanted global reputation for authoritarian crackdowns on social media users. And it's yet another example of censoring the criticism of Israel. It should be blindingly obvious that there's a huge difference between criticizing the actions of a nation state and its government and the hate-filled diatribes of Kanye West or indeed Valentina Gomez. But my country is losing the ability to see that difference. It won't be long before that's something which threatens all of us. Well, joining me now is Cenk Uygur, founder and CEO of the Young Turks, and Shabbos Kestenbaum, commentator with PragerU, both of whom are due to be in this studio with me to debate in person before the British Home Office intervened. Well, before I get to Cenk, Shabbos, credit to you, because your first reaction publicly about this was to say how outraged you were by this ban and how wrong it was. Just explain why.
So this is the kid supposed to be debating on the other end of the spectrum, on the other end of the scale to what Cenk Uygur espouses, to, on with Piers Morgan in studio. And even he is recognizing the lunacy of this and how ridiculous and embarrassing this is. And again, being a James O'Brien fan on LBC and having watched him for fucking God, 10, 12 years at this point, he had done a lot of talking about Keir Starmer before Keir Starmer got into office. He had fucking high hopes, as did a lot of people had high hopes about Keir Starmer. And it is just, I don't know, like the words escape me at this point. Embarrassing, frustrating, shameful, I guess, to see the way in which this government has been handled and the fecklessness that has been seen. And again, it is pretty consistent on both sides of the political spectrum in England that the government is shit. It is shit. It's not working for farmers. It's not working for the blue collar. It's not working for the country in general. It's not doing right with geopolitics. It's not doing right with domestic or foreign, none of it. If you ask people in England, and I'm sure you can find, people that disagree, obviously that's the way it works. But on the overwhelming basis, I would say if you ask somebody, they would have negative things to say about Keir Starmer and this government. And again, that is a shame considering what people were expecting of Keir Starmer, and previously to him being prime minister as well. But even to a certain extent, the debater here, the person that Cenk Uygur was going to debate from England, I believe, I'm not sure if that's true, but he was basically pissed off and ashamed at the actions by the Home Office there as to ban Cenk and Hassan because of their criticisms of the government of Israel, which, again, they just said is a very, very well-known and not positive, but a popular sentiment. And again, is only getting more popular by the day. We've talked about that, whether it's Republican politicians, Democratic politicians, the Republican voting base, the Democratic voting base, people in countries all over the world have quickly recognized what a threat Israel poses, not only to the Middle East, but to the greater world and the world economy and stability in general. Right. So again, how the fuck anybody could be banned from one of our allied nations here because of what they said. And again, nothing illegal, nothing false, real. You know what I mean? It's all stuff that's happened, all stuff that's been said by scholars and different human rights organizations, all of it. So just fucking pissed me off to no end to see that. And like I said, I'm not always stepping up to bat for Cenk Uygur, but, I absolutely will in this case. I have absolutely no problems whatsoever doing it in this case because you can't let this shit stand. You cannot let this shit stand. The fact that you have to be worried about where you can and can't go based upon what opinions you espouse, when in fact those opinions seem to be borne out with, in reality with fact is ludicrous and asinine. And again, even taking into account the fact that they don't have freedom of speech and all that other shit, not the way this world should be fucking, society should go in this world. It's just absolutely not. It's ridiculous. Call it out at every turn. I try to. That's why I utilize this platform in any positive way that I can to get out these stories, to get out the truth, to get out the, my opinions. That's obviously a lot of this as well. So I appreciate you guys here for making that possible, for keeping this thing running, for sending a buck into the Venmo, keeping the lights on. Hopefully at some point, maybe I'll take a 3-day hiatus and get my mind right at some point, considering the mental toll this takes to go through this every single day for 10 years at this point. But anyway, all right, let's dive into this next and last topic here, which is, like I said, I told you we were going to start and end with Ukraine, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. This is not that one. Why do I consistently do that? I don't know. But this is Preston Stewart with his latest video detailing the, let's say, the drop in morale to put it mildly, in the Russian front on the on the side of the Russians, in which they're now, like we've heard, this is a pretty consistent story that we've heard, where drunk Russians in military bases getting a hold of weapons, shooting their own people, their own military hanging people from trees upside down, wrapping them up and beating them because they did this, that, or the other thing, showed up drunk, whatever the fuck it was, or even worse, obviously. But this is titled "Russian Soldiers Turn on Each Other." It says, quote, "We had to do it." So I'm curious as to what effect the Ukrainian successes lately, both deep inside of Russia, and as yesterday was the 1 year anniversary of Operation Spiderweb. Shout out to Dame Dog in the chat for making that apparent in the Zoom last night. Obviously something that we could look at as a turning point in this war. I know there's typically many turning points that you could look at in a war where it seems like that was the line, that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, but definitely a huge moment. But the successes that the Ukrainians have seen since then have only expounded, right? They have only fucking gone up exponentially. So curious again what the lack of supplies, or again the intermittent supplies that have going to the front, whether it's down in Crimea because of the the danger to the Kerch Bridge, or obviously the drone threat to the land bridge, and obviously the Mariupol to Melitopol into Crimea highway. Like, that's got to be having an impact. Obviously the Ukrainians in their attempts that they've had recently to broaden the kill zone beyond the front, so obviously making it so that the Russians feel uncomfortable, unsafe, and kind of on edge deeper behind the front lines. Obviously we talked about the video of the Russian helicopter mechanics openly working on their helicopters in an open field. I believe there was some 100 clicks behind the front lines, thought they were safe. Not so fucking safe. Okay, they got a drone right up their Russian arsehole, so didn't pay off for that much. But that, you can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to build up that zone beyond the front line, in which those drones and all of their other technologies can be utilized, and make it more difficult to maneuver, make it more difficult to get transports, make it more difficult to get your soldiers to the front, your resupplies to the front, your fuel to the front, your water, your food, all of those things that you need to the front. Just make it that much more difficult, right? We talked about this last show. There's probably only a single geographical position on a greater scale in which Ukraine has the ability or the likelihood to cut it off, which is Crimea. They could effectively turn it into an island, cutting off the Kerch Bridge, cutting off the land bridge, and then hammering away at that with their missile and drone, offensive capabilities will have a huge impact. But the rest of the front, you could try to, the goal is to do as much damage in hampering the resupply as possible. It is near impossible for it to be cut off entirely along the front. Obviously, there are different roads, there are different routes, there are different paths and options to get things there, but it is possible to significantly hamper the amount of weaponry, the amount of ammunition, the amount of supplies that gets to the front. And that has a very long lasting effect on the morale of the frontline troops, right? If you're sitting in, soaking wet clothes for 3 days with no food, no fuel for heat, no water, no ammunition, obviously it's going to have a detrimental impact on your psyche, your mental health. And the longer that persists and the more you go through that, the more damage it does to the morale of the troops, where they see that obviously the commanders aren't doing the right thing. They're obviously incompetent in a lot of cases. They're either being lied to or believing the lies about how well the front is doing or how much territory they've been able to take over. We've talked about that time and time again, and how that's a detriment to the frontline troops. Right? You could say and have somebody holding up a flag at a certain geographical location and say, we took this area. But when in an hour that guy's dead and the Ukrainians have control over that flag that he had, and there's no more troops within another, 25, 30 kilometers, then that has a negative impact when you then try to send your troops back into that zone or to take more territory, but they didn't have the established territory that they said they had to begin with. Right. So it just makes their job that much more difficult. So all of those things kind of compound to having a detrimental aspect, a detrimental effect on the psyche. So I'm curious if that's having some impact. So let's see if we can dive into just a couple minutes of this Preston Stewart video, just detailing some of the difficulties, we'll say, the Russians are facing on the front.
So today we have the story of Daniel, a Russian soldier who was forced into an assault unit, who explains how he had to kill his fellow soldiers as they hid from Ukrainian drones. It's a wild story. I mean, we've got a real look at the process that Russia is going through of sending these guys on one-way missions what they pack for that mission, how they get resupplied, and a personal account of how it all falls apart and they turn on each other at the front. Now, this was an article just published in the Novaya Gazeta, which is an independent Russian newspaper. We'll have the full article linked in the description below. And it's a conversation with Daniel, who they say spent 2 months from February 17th to April 17th of 2026 in a Russian infantry assault unit. He was able to meet with reporters and told...
Look what it says, though. Look at the secondary line there. A Russian soldier survived 2 months of infantry assault, starved in a basement, and shot a fellow soldier. Now, you can't tell me that that is a positive outlook on what the morale or the psyche of these troops would be, okay? You cannot take 2 months of assault while starving in a basement and having to shoot your fellow soldiers and expect to come out of that healthy. You're just not going to. You're not going to be thinking clearly. You're not going to be mentally capable. You're not going to be physically capable. You may not even want to be around your fucking fellow troops anymore, considering you were either forced or had to shoot one of them to begin with. So obviously you might want to try to, mitigate that from happening again, stop that from happening again. So you might desert your position. You might desert the military. All of these things come into play when you're, again, 2 months under an assault, starving in a basement. We've talked about this before, where the Russians have kind of employed these tactics now of these smaller groups, these smaller units trying to infiltrate behind Ukrainian lines. They will stay in their position if they're afforded the ability to do so. Whether it's 10 guys going out and 2 of them eventually make it to their positions, those 2 guys have to sit there and wait till another 10 guys try to make it through that same spot or a different spot to kind of reconvene with them. And then they get to continue to wait until they have an established force big enough to carry out whatever objective that they were supposed to be carrying out in the first place. So that leads to, in a lot of cases like this, some of these Russian soldiers sitting in a burnt out basement, sitting in these fucking rubble for months or weeks at a time, weeks or months at a time, waiting for enough of their soldiers to eventually trickle through the Ukrainian lines in order to try to accomplish something. You know what I mean? And a lot of these times that doesn't happen. They just end up sitting and waiting. Nobody ever fucking comes. They run out of food. They run out of fuel. They run out of ammunition, and they're fucked. Next thing you know, they're handing themselves over, or again, just walking out into the field and sacrificing themselves to a Ukrainian drone by that time. You know what I mean? But it goes on.
His story during the first 5 days of his captivity. Daniel says he started out as an artilleryman. Nobody
would be great is if I put it on the screen. That would be fan-fucking-tastic. My apologies.
To start in the assault units, right? Neither did Daniel. Started out as an artilleryman, but eventually got into arguments with his chain of command, and he was transferred into the infantry. He said, quote, "It was scary to end up in the 82nd Infantry Regiment. Everyone talked about it as a place where people were sent, supposedly, as punishment. If you didn't follow orders, if you didn't obey, they'd tell you, watch out, you're going to the 82nd, going to Volchansk, and that's where I ended up." Now, turning to a map to give you an idea of where this very short story, 2 months in combat, kind of, for Daniel took place. Eastern Ukraine, moving over here to Kharkiv, Volchansk, which is not getting a lot of attention. I mean, the fighting is still pretty heavy there. There's just not a lot of movement. This is Russian-held territory. As you look on the screen, this is Russia on the northern portion. The red is Russian-occupied territory in Ukraine, and the green is Ukrainian-held territory that they have since liberated from Russia, originally taken it in 2022. Volchansk here in the middle. The specific area that Daniel ended up fighting was right in here, this Hrovsky area. In fact, he talks about having to cross over a river. It was a river crossing back through this area. So northeastern Ukraine is where Daniel was fighting and where Daniel...
So they basically said, if you fuck up, you're getting sent to this place where it's almost a guarantee that you're going to die, right? That's basically the punishment. You're going to go to the 82nd, you're going to go to Volchansk, and it's not going to be good for you. It's not going to end well. So if you fuck up, if you show up drunk, if you desert, if you hit somebody, if you do something, like this is what they're threatening you with. And again, there's video after video after video on Telegram and Reddit that detail the abuses that the Russians are taking on the front from some of their commanders, slapped, beaten, whipped, shot. All of these things that are being done to people that they deem have broken rules or not fought for the country or the motherland or whatever the fuck that they're saying. But, this is, again, not creating, soldiers that are out there willing to fight for the country, that are out there because they know that their commanders have their back, or they're fighting for the guy on their right and to the left, which is what you hear so much from, people that served in the U.S. military or, allied militaries that were engaged with it. Is you go there for a specific reason, but once you get there, you're fighting for the guy to your left, to your right, the person behind you, the person that, helps you eat, the person that, is communicating air support. Like, those are the people that you're fighting for when you really get into that position. They don't have that aspect, right? They're not fighting for each other. They're actually fighting each other, as opposed to fighting with each other, which is, again, a small indication, a small aspect of why they've had the lack of successes that they've had. Obviously, the overestimates of the power of their military, how that they were, a powerful military on paper, but once you got them into the field, that changed very rapidly, right? So that was another aspect of how we saw this kind of, now they're all of a sudden, they were supposed to be the most powerful military on earth, but now they're the second most powerful military in Ukraine, right? So again, that's kind of where that comes from. But, this is just not doing well, not going to help the psyche, the morale of their troops and help them fight better, right? To help them fight more aggressively, to help them have more success. This is the opposite of what you do and how you treat your soldiers in order to get that out of them.
Was eventually captured. Now, they start out by talking about how the process all begins. He says they were moved to a deployment point where they're down in a bunker. They had to fill out some forms about their family and next of kin. And there was a group of 10 of them. They were kind of watched over and loosely guarded. So not a prison type setup, but he mentioned that they were definitely being watched the entire time. He said all of a sudden they got the notice. They'd been there about a week and they said, it's time to go. Leave your stuff. So leave all of your belongings. They were moved under guard of sorts on a quad bike to the first release point. And what it looks like...
It sounds like a forced conscription, right? I mean, that's just what it sounds like. Sounds like if you're being heavily watched under guard, if you're being forced to move here, if you're being forced to get into the military, to begin with, if you're not being, afforded whatever rights that you're supposed to be having as a citizen of that country, it looks like a forced conscription. Right. So, if you guys have committed a crime, if you've done this, you obviously get no say in what happens. You're going to be sent to the front. You're going to do exactly what we tell you to do, or you're going to just be shot. You'll be left here in this field for the Ukrainian drones to have at you, or, whatever it may be that their punishment is. But it's basically just, go fight under threat, which is, again, not producing super soldiers, right? It's producing fearful, I'm only doing this because otherwise I'll be shot, type of soldiers.
Like they're doing with these Russian soldiers is they're not really getting like a mission briefing or an outline of exactly what they need to do, even a task and purpose. It's just points on a map. Go here, then go here, then go here, then
so
go.
No objective, no goals, right? No stated missions. No, here's your crew, and this is what you've been training for. This is the mission that you guys have been training for so hard for so many months. Like, you'll see time and time again, the special forces, Green Berets, you name it. And they have these training facilities, and if they have a mission coming up, they train for that specific mission, right? They train for that extraction or that exfil or, that removal of this person or whatever it may be, getting into this area. They train for that specific mission, or they take a group that has that expertise to use for that specific mission type of thing. This is just, okay, you're a body, you're a piece of meat. You got fucking 2 arms, 2 legs, and we can fit a gun in your hand. Go to Vovchansk. Go to, go down to the Zaporizhia front, or you're in Pokrovsk, or it's just no rhyme or reason to it. It's just kind of as many bodies as we could get into the fight. Let's get into the fight. We don't care if we have to whip them, beat them, stab them, shoot them in order to scare them to get to the front. Do whatever you have to do. Just get bodies to the front, which is, again, why you're not seeing the successes, right? It's just, there's nothing that you could look at here and be like, well, this is a military that should be seeing success. It's curious as to why they're not seeing successes. It's like everything you hear and look at is like, oh, well, that's why they suck. You know what I mean? It's like, well, clearly that's why they're fucking terrible. Like, what the fuck's going on? And obviously, you don't have to be that great if you have numbers to that extent, right? You can overwhelm, if you put in enough people, if you put in enough bodies, you do absolutely have the ability to overwhelm a superior enemy, a superior force with just numbers alone. Right. So it's not like it can't have an impact. It's just they're just so incompetent in the way they're going about this that you're just wasting and spending these bodies without seeing any gain or benefit from that. You know what I mean? So it's like they're both ruining the opportunity they have to use the amount of numbers that they have, and also ruining the psyche of the people in the military that are fighting for them. So on both aspects, they're failing their people, they're failing their military, which obviously should not be there in the fucking first place. I should not have to stipulate, but again, I digress as far as that's concerned, but I'll let him go on for just a minute here. And I want to take a look at, just before I let you guys go, just let you guys know the importance of today's election day in California as well. So just another minute of this, and then we'll get into a little bit about the election day in California, the importance of that, and I'll get you guys out of here. Appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. My name's Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Sorry for the the emotional degradation at the beginning of the show, but sometimes it just sneaks up on you. Sometimes it has the ability to catch up to you at certain times when you think you're good, you think you're beating the mental decline, you think you're beating the mental anguish and the anxiety and I don't know what you'd call it, just kind of the tiredness, right? The fatigue of this, but every now and again it kind of smacks you in the face and reminds you that no, it's there. It's definitely there.
Here. And you'll see through the story, Daniel eventually gets a note like, you have to go into this house. And he doesn't know why. He doesn't know if it's occupied by Russians or Ukrainians or booby-trapped or any of that stuff. So
that's wild. That's wild stuff. And we can end on that point there. But to be sent into a house and not know if it's your fucking side or the enemy in there, like you don't know anything to the point where you don't know why you're going into this fucking house. Like, that's crazy. That is just absolutely fucking crazy. Like, can you give me some information? Alexei, give me fucking something that I could go with here, please. What in the goddamn name am I going into this house for? But all right, let me just throw this quickly on the screen, just to kind of reiterate the importance, obviously, of elections, both federal, statewide, and local elections. This is, let me throw this on the screen. My apologies. There it is right here. Election day, LA mayor's race and the California governor today. So let me just scroll down here real quick. I'm going to throw this on this side. No, stay there, right there. Yep, you stay right there. So we'll go. It says, oh, by the way, I forgot. Happy Pride Month, by the way, guys. My apologies. Happy Pride Month to everybody. Everybody, obviously, that celebrates. And even if you don't, happy fucking Pride Month, as we are definitely supporters here at Blunt Politics. My apologies for not bringing that up earlier in the show, but I'm glad I remembered now. Definitely, for sure, happy Pride Month, everybody. Make sure you're out there celebrating, representing in the best way possible. But yeah, it just reminded me where it said happy primary election day. So it says here, Angelenos head to the polls today. Both the Los Angeles mayor's race and the California governor's race. And again, here's your choices. Karen Bass, Nithya Raman, Spencer Pratt. Don't do it. Don't do it, Spencer. You know what I mean? So obviously we're looking at here. I've seen some people on the side of Nithya, obviously. Spencer is an absolutely fucking nut. But, it is very important that we do take down. And again, Javier Becerra and Tom Steyer look like they're leading the pack, not by much. Steve Hilton kind of in a close third there as far as that's concerned, but said early voter turnout has been relatively low, according to data from the Secretary of State's office, with less than 20% statewide and about 10% in LA County, which I don't know if that's a good sign. With so many ballots still outstanding, Klink says it could take days or even weeks before the final results are known. Hopefully everybody gets in those ballots and those choices there. Says the latest Berkeley LA Times poll shows Bass slightly ahead with 26% among likely voters, followed closely by Raman at 25%, Pratt at 22%. Literally out of nowhere, you had Spencer Pratt, just an absolute fucking chuckle fuck, right? Another one of these reality TV fucking morons that we absolutely don't need because he has absolutely no experience whatsoever, and he's just a complete fucking tool. I mean, I don't know why, we even have to discuss this to a certain extent, but that's kind of what's at play, right? This is another problem that I see is the choices that we have in this country, right? At one of the most consequential and pivotal times, I believe, in this country's history, we have just a very, very stark lack of candidates out there to choose from, which is really unfortunate. Not in this specific race, I'm saying, but just, nationwide, you would think that there would be fucking just stacks of people out there trying to push progressive values and to shame the establishment. But unfortunately, they still seem to be few and far between. Obviously, we're still a little early on in election season. So, but yeah, definitely everybody in LA, obviously in California, please get out there and vote today. Please do the right thing. And make sure that one of our country's, most important states doesn't get taken over by fucking absolute tool bags. Please God damn it. So I implore anybody, like I said, in California, to get out there, cast your vote. Let's see what the results are, and we'll talk about it coming up. So yeah, that's that. I appreciate you guys. Hopefully, like I said, we're seeing things head in the right direction. Like we were bringing up at the beginning, the way that the Republicans are now trying to quell or put rules and laws in place to make sure that either the mail-in voting or people in democratic cities or states, it's either more difficult for you to vote or it's just impossible for you to vote. These are things that you probably definitely need to stay up on. So again, all of the different rule changes with the USPS, please be looking into those. All of the state law changes, if in fact your state did produce any of those, please make sure you know what the dates, the regulations, the deadlines are. All of those things. Sign the fucking, make sure you're dotting the I's and crossing your T's. All of those things. Make it legible. Give them absolutely no reason whatsoever to chuck your fucking ballot in the mail. But, I know we only have so much power as far as that's concerned anyway. But I do want to say thank you once again for everybody that has helped in already, kicked into the NAFO 69 Sniffer Brigade campaign that we're up now. We're up to 32 donations. So somebody was kind enough to throw in another donation here while we were live. Let me throw this on. We're now up to 3,733 euro and 90 pence there. Is that what you call them, pence in Europe? I don't know. That might be wrong, but not really care. I don't really care either way. But thank you guys so very much, really, for your passion, your support, your aggression, stepping up for these very vital, useful, important campaigns that we're a part of with these very established and well-known, organizations. Right? This isn't just willy-nilly. You sending in money and you're not sure where it goes. We are very, very sure where all of this goes. It is all detailed on the Help 99 website. You can look at the totality of all the donations that they've made. Here's the anonymous donation from Kharkiv. May it never turn into a frontline city. Thank you for that last one. Thank you, Tom Hamill, and your family. Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you, Christina Yakov, of course. That's from us at the Blunt Politics family. Berger Kuhn, Mark. Thank you guys so much. And I know not everybody utilizes the wall there to get their name up there. So thank you to anybody else that's been responsible for kicking in 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever you can kick into that. I really, really do appreciate it. And like I said, this does give all of the information, what you can get. Here's the patches. Everyone who donates over 100 euro will receive a limited NAFO patch. You can choose from those. If you donate more than 750 euro, you get 3. So again, as the amount that is donated goes up, you kind of get more and more. And again, I think the last thing is if you raise over 10,000 euro, you get to actually take these trucks yourself or to join the convoy. Again, just in case there's any whales out there. You never know who's watching. You never know who's listening. But I do appreciate you guys to the ends of the earth. I really, really do for getting this accomplished. And we are a small channel. We are a very small fish in a very large sea here. So it is not lost on me how substantial even this amount of contributions is for again a channel of this size. It is again fighting well above your weight class, and you guys are doing some serious damage here. And again, round of applause, salute, shout out to you guys, respect, all of that. So we're now 18% of the way there. Let's see if we can get to 20% of the way by the end of the day. Let's continue hitting those goals. The sooner we get this done, the sooner we can start another one. And again, recognizing the counterintuitiveness of this, being done by a smaller channel. Like, I'm heavily reliant upon the donations, solely reliant upon the donations of you guys in the chat. So, spreading you guys too thin is a real risk. But again, the importance of this, the honor and the privilege it is to be associated with this kind of outweighs the risks that this channel faces or the hardships I might face while doing these campaigns. And that's just a sacrifice that I am more than ready and more than willing and more than able to make. So I appreciate you guys for sticking up with my shit. I appreciate you guys for joining me on these campaigns and on these journeys, sticking with me as long as we've been here. Like I said, it was a a very difficult decision, and continues to be a very difficult decision to give up a plumbing career because of the way you see your country going, because of the importance you see to speak up on these issues, and just the ability you have to kind of put your face in front of a camera and get that out there to the people. So thank you guys for the support. It continues to be a grind. We are here grinding every single day. I know there's a kind of a fallacy out there about how much people that are on YouTube and shit make. And again, a lot of them do with these huge channels and shit. I'm not that guy or those guys or those peoples at all whatsoever. We are a small independent channel. We have no financial backers, sponsors. We don't sell you anything from outside resources. We don't fill the show with ads. None of that shit. None of it. We don't even charge for the Substack. None of the content is hidden behind a paywall. You will never have to pay $1 to see my content. You will never have to come out of pocket with a red cent to see my content. And I think it's asinine for channels that do that when, again, they're speaking about hugely important issues and information that people deserve to hear. So that's how we're going to continue running. And I appreciate you guys for recognizing that and doing the work on your end to make sure that this channel feels supported and the lights can continue to stay on. Again, that's another thing. One of my fucking expensive blue lights broke. You can see it's probably a little less blue. Well, one of them shit the bed. So I got to get a new one of those. Anyway, not your problem, my problem. I love you. What do you say we get into thanking some people on Venmo in case anybody was kind enough today? And then we'll say thank you to everybody on the YouTube side of things. Make sure you guys get your moment in the spotlight as well, because like I said, I can't tell you how appreciative I am of everything that you guys do, the support that you guys show. Jim, right off the bat first today, thank you so much, Jim. Great to see you last night in the Patreon Zoom. Thank you so much for the $20 contribution here on Venmo. Help for your rent or whatever. Thank you so much, Jim. I really do appreciate that, brother. And like I said, I know we're kind of all floating in the same kind of in the same pool right now. So I appreciate every single one of you guys for doing whatever you can. I really do. So Yakov next on the list. Thank you so much, Yakov. Very much appreciate you, brother. Hope you have a fun time camping. Please say hello to the rest of the family for me and hope you guys have a great time. Let's see here. Belinda. Thank you so much, Belinda, for the $2 contribution on Venmo. Says for Boston Brian. Thank you so much, Belinda. Very much appreciated for that as well. Let's see here. And then over the last couple of days, I'd just like to thank people going back. Jennifer, Geneva, Roger and Karen, Allison, Nina, Roxanne, Michael, Bry Guy, thank you so much. And then over the last couple of days, like I said, Donna, Damon, Kathy, anybody that's responsible for kicking in a buck or two is greatly appreciated. So love you guys, respect you guys. Let's say we get over here to the YouTube side of things, saying thank you to you guys. Once again, my apologies for the for the emotional breakdown at the beginning of the show, but like I said, it tends to creep up on you every now and again. So thank you, Yakov, starting off today, going camping, and I hope you have some fun, my brother. Like I said, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for keeping that chat a safe place like you do. Thank you, Chris. No one is free until Ukraine is free. Amen. Very much appreciate you and your contributions. Thank you for being here for a member for 11 months. Really, really do appreciate that. Congratulations. Everybody deserves a congratulations and a W in the chat if you've reached a milestone, if you're nice enough to contribute. Even if you're just doing the free stuff, you all deserve a big fucking W. So thank you, Chris. Thank you, Yakov. Thank you, Tony. Like if you hate Trump. I don't know. If I could like that 1.5 billion times, I would, Tony. So I hope you got a lot of likes in that chat. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you to Chris. Chris says free Ukraine. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your contributions today. Really, really do appreciate it. Slava Ukraina, Heroyan Slava. Thank you so much for the 10. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Chris, again. Oh, thank you, Luis. Sorry, I was lost. Thank you, Luis, as well. Boston Brian, we all need a good cry. I know. I just typically don't like doing it on camera. It'd be great if I could do that before the show started. You know what I mean? But anyway, I appreciate you, Luis. Thank you for your support, your passion. Thank you for your kind words as well. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you to Jeff. My man, my barista, loves his new Boston Brian merchandise. Let's fucking go. I can't thank you guys enough for helping support, the merch shop. And again, that's just kind of one of the outside ways in which we try to, help build this community and kind of, help pay the bills around here. It is merch designed by us. It's done by us and for you guys in the community here. So not all of the designs have to do with Boston Brian or blunt politics. Again, if you're looking to just show people you're part of the resistance or part of the opposition, or you agree with human rights, you're part of, you're an ally to the communities, then we got a ton of great designs, some new designs just added recently as well. So head it over to bostonbrian.com and then look for the link there, the Blunt Politics merch shop. Should be a link there. Also on bostonbrian.com has all of the info and links to my social media accounts, whether that's Threads, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitch. All of those things are on there. And then all of the information for our Zoom chats that we have every single month. So let me just throw this on the screen just so you guys can throw this in your calendars as well, because these are the June dates. I don't think it should be that difficult to remember anymore, considering they're all on Monday. So we just had our all members on the 1st. Next Monday will be VIP. 15th will be for the It Keeps Getting Better in the VIP, and then 22nd for the VIP. So those are the June Zooms. If you signed up at patreon.com/BostonBrian, at any one of those levels, get you access to those face-to-face Zooms that we have every single Monday night. So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, Jeff, for your support as well. Who is under Jeff? Who's next? Thank you, brother. Oh, thank you, Angie. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Angie, for the one gifted membership. Somebody, a very valued member of the community, just received a gifted membership because of the, because of the kindness and the generosity of Angie. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Is it Ange or Angie? I feel like I'm getting that wrong now. I see the the European the European sounding last name, and I feel like I'm getting that wrong now. So my apologies if I mispronounce that, but I do very much appreciate your contribution and you being here watching the show very, very much. Slava Ukraina, I appreciate you. Thank you, Rachel. Rachel says, "Hey Brian, when are you coming to Springfield?" What again? I don't know. That's a great question. I've never ever thought to myself in all the years I've been in Massachusetts, when am I going to Springfield? But you let me know if there's some activities, there's something for us to do in Springfield. I'll happy to grace you with my with an appearance. I will. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Rachel, for your contributions. Chenk's a loser now, but he's no threat. Stupid ban. Absolutely. And again, that's kind of the extent of the criticism. That's the extent of the statement, the sentiment that you need to give, whether you like him or you dislike him, whether you agree with his stance or disagree with his stance, it's irrelevant at this point, right? It's a clear fact that, his statements or, him speaking up against what Israel is doing is no justification for getting banned from an allied country. So again, like I said, I concur and I do appreciate your contributions, Rachel. And again, Rachel, appreciate you. Take a vacation in Western Mass. It's cheap and pretty, right? Head over to the Berkshires a little bit, get into the Berkshires, get into the woods. Not much of a camper. I like ATVing, dirt biking and stuff like that. So maybe a couple ATV trips will do me good or something like that. I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass at this point, but I really appreciate it. We'll see if we can look into, activities in Western Mass. But thank you so much, Rachel. I appreciate it and look forward to speaking tomorrow with your recommendation as well. So very much appreciate that. Thank you, Laurie. Great to see you last night as well. Great to see you, Rachel, too. Thank you so much for showing up last night. Oh, No Money G. I skipped you. My apologies. Thank you, No Money G, for the best and handsomest independent media creator in the interwebs, Boston Brian, Blunt Politics, where it's at. Thank you so much, No Money G. I appreciate that very much. Very much. I appreciate your support, your kind words. Thank you for your loyalty to this channel. It goes a long way. It really goes a long way. So thank you, No Money G. Now, thank you, Laurie. Very much appreciate you. And thank you for showing up last night to the Zoom. I second the best looking podcasters. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said, hopefully you guys aren't watching on mute. Like I said last night in the Zoom, it would be very nice to know that people aren't just watching it on Zoom, on mute. Like, no, we never heard a word he said, but we like looking at him. Oh, jeez. But no, thank you guys so much. Thank you, No Money G. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you, Carol, as well. Happy Pride Month for sure. Amen. Second that. Happy Pride Month, everybody. Bethany says, Happy Pride Month. Californians, don't vote for Spencer Prattle. Absolutely. I second that as well on both fronts. Happy Pride Month to you and everybody else. And obviously, Californians, please do the right thing. Please do the right thing. And again, thank you, Bry Guy. Why does YouTube suck at Super Chat? It does that sometimes. I think there's been kind of glitches going around on a few of the different platforms. I heard there was some shenanigans happening on Facebook with people that get paid through Facebook. Again, how do you get paid through Facebook? I'm curious. I don't know how the fuck that works. But apparently some people that are affiliated or associated with some program over there aren't seeing what they're making or something like that. There's some hack or something going on. Who the fuck knows? But at that point, but yeah, I think it's sometimes if they don't agree with what you're saying on a super chat, it won't let it go through, or some weird shit always happens, Bryce. So my apologies. Thank you so much for persevering and getting that through. I do appreciate it. And then last today, thank you so much to Jeff once again. James Naismith, Basketball Hall of Fame, Springfield. That's a good question. That's a good point. That's my bad. That's my bad. I've been there. And I should recognize that, but I think it's because I've already been there that it didn't jump out at first. But thank you, Jen, before my Massachusetts card gets removed. No, thank you guys. I do appreciate it. And again, like I said, my apologies for the emotional opening, beginning to the show, but it's heavy. This shit's heavy, man. It doesn't get easier to cover, fucking genocides and bombings and war crimes and innocent civilians dying and people in this country suffering and homeless and everything that we have to discuss on this and the lies and the propaganda. It takes a fucking toll. It takes a goddamn toll. And I think if you speak to anybody that's done this enough, will tell you the same thing, right? I mean, whether you're in the chat, doesn't matter. I'm not just speaking about podcasters or live streamers, whatever you want to call us. Everybody that's dealing with this, everybody that's had to fight through all this shit. Like, I know you guys are tired. I know you guys are exhausted. I know you guys are frustrated. I know it. You know what I mean? So I want to recognize that. I want to appreciate that. And thank you for again, persevering in getting through all of this and sticking with us independent creators and supporting the channels. I really do appreciate it. Oh, thank you, Yakov. Appreciate that. Your caring is A+. I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you. And again, I appreciate you guys being here with me and, fighting, linking arms with me in this fight, being part of the opposition, being part of the resistance. And I give you guys a lot of credit. I do. I really do. I know a lot of people are struggling right now, myself included, and it is difficult to continue staying in the fight while that happens, but we're going to be right here grinding, continuing. We're not going anywhere. I can tell you that much. Maybe at some point we'll be lucky enough to take a day or two without looking at the news would be fantastic, but we'll get there. I appreciate, love, and respect you guys. I'll see you tomorrow for the doubleheader. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on the way out. Hit that notification bell, please. I don't know which one, if you do personalized or other or whatever the other option is, but see if you can play around with that. If you haven't been getting the notification, see if you can go to the other one, see if that kind of helps, because I know a lot of people don't get those notifications. But thank you guys. Head over to bostonbrian.com. Thank you. Head over to the Patreon. Make sure if you are willing to and want to, you sign up for a Patreon, a YouTube membership just underneath me would be fantastic. It goes a long, long way to help not only this channel, but the community as well. Oh, Yakov again. Come on, brother. Seeing a creator care as much and more than I do is why I'm here. 100%, brother. Well, I recognize that within you. That's why I knew we were going to be friends. That's why I knew you were going to be a fantastic mod, along with the rest of this chat and obviously the mods that we've put together here. That's why you guys care. That's why it keeps me going. And then hopefully in turn, I keep you going, and then we can kind of feed off each other, right? So big salute to you guys for dealing with and putting up with everything that you guys put up with. So again, we'll keep our eye on the Bab El-Mandeb. Obviously, we're going to keep our eye on what Israel continues to do in perpetrating this genocide that they're continuing here in different countries. And we'll be right here to report it. Obviously, updates coming from, Ukraine going into Russia, and obviously the unfortunate news from, the news coming out of Russia into Ukraine as well. We'll be here to cover it all, good, bad, or indifferent. All right. So big salute to you guys. Really, really do appreciate you. And thank you so much for, again, sticking with me here on Blunt Politics. Hit that like button on the way out if you haven't yet. Please subscribe to the channel. Please, for the love of God, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 25K. And it's only with your help that we're going to get there. All right. I'm out of here. Salute. Stay loud, stay proud, stay aggressive. Again, something's going to light that fire under all of our asses to get out of our seats, to get into those fucking streets, and to shut this shit down until something changes. So I love you. I appreciate you. I'm out of here. I'll see you for the doubleheader tomorrow. Oh, Jeff, what'd you say? Hold on. One more. I saw one more in there. You need a hug, Brian. You know what? I've been known as a good hugger. I'm good at receiving and giving hugs. So I don't know that might be substantial. I'm not sure. Might also take a vacation, but I'm sure a hug is a good place to start. But no, I appreciate you, Jeff. Thank you so much. Thank you to the mods. Thank you, Sarasota. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Pops. I see you in there, brother. Thank you, Frank, Roxanne, Rox. Happy birthday, by the way. Happy birthday. W's in the chat. Happy birthdays for Rox. Let's get them in there if you didn't already. Tell her, wish her a happy birthday from everybody here, from my family to yours. Happy birthday, Rox. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you so much for everything that you've been doing down there. And I hope Mom is well or getting weller, right? So, all right, I'm out. Love you. Thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow for the doubleheader. Yeah, that's about it for today. Another great show. But again, I'm biased. So you guys let me know how I did. Let me know where I can improve. Let me know what you like, dislike, all of those things. I'm more than willing to hear you out on all of those things, how we can make the show better, how we can make it flow better, whatever you guys, if you want to see different topics, just let me know. Hit me up wherever you can hit me up. And what's up, Adam? Oh, shit. I'm sorry, brother. Fucking Christ, man. Can't catch a break, dude. Can't catch a goddamn break. Well, don't worry about being late, Adam. You just literally focus upon, your situation, getting yourself into a place where you can be comfortable, and we'll be right here for you, brother. Really, really and truly, we'll be right here for you no matter what. So appreciate you, Adam. Sorry about that. If there's any way in which we could be of some assistance, you just let us know. All right, brother? Appreciate you. Salute to all the mods. Salute to the chat. Salute to the community. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right. Peace out. Stopping. I don't get it. Stop stopping.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Here's a thought. Grow a sack, fill it with some balls.
We're inviting Americans from all across the country to come.
The kidney has a very special place in the heart. It's an incredible thing.
It's a new form of vicious violation to our country.
Somebody said, is that a Trump statement or is that real?
For minors, do we love minors? I love minors.
To officially name the undisputed. When did this come out?
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Obama.
Never fight uphill, me boys. Never fight uphill. They were fighting uphill. He said, wow, that was a big mistake. He lost his great general. And they were fighting. Never fight uphill, me boys. But it was too late. We're a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat. Army manned the air. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do. Gettysburg, what an unbelievable battle that was. The Battle of Gettysburg, what an unbelievable. I mean, it was so much and so interesting and so vicious and horrible and so beautiful in so many.
Go fuck yourself.
Refer to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small.
Brian, you're drunk. You're drunk.
You'll have a group of Venezuelan killers, street gangs, occupying the town with MK-47s. I know that gun very well. I got to know it very well. I've become an expert on guns.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
The big, fat, sloppy United States.